traditional Christianity by far, right?
Oh,
This
yeah. You don't like Neoplatonism, then you can just say I don't like it.
Well, no. Well, it's not a matter of not liking it.
I mean, not complete. You can say it's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly. I think it's just not getting all of the. There's a whole bunch of stuff it seems to be not even touching, and
like
it's.
What?
I don't. Well, just. I mean, when you talk about our moral experience, when you talk about these different desires and longings that people have, purpose, reality, like why is there anything even here to begin with? All of this stuff, you could just try to I guess, paper over all of that and just say, I mean,
like our purpose here would be in this world being its lowest dimension, not because it's imperfect, because it is a dual, because it shows distinction. And Father, or the essence of Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, don't show distinction. They hold unity. So our entire purpose in this duality is to be unified, is to get closer.
Yeah, Andrew, I think honestly, we got so far, we got so close.
It was nice, Bob. Did you like it?
What I would say is that, Andrew, all you need to do is just take the final step. Take the final step. Come home. Come home, brother. Come to Neoplatonism. Just realize
he's already home. He wants the trinkets. He wants the bells. He wants the final.
I'm not even going to take the Trinity away from you. Keep the Trinity. Just say that the Son is eternally dependent on the Father, and the Holy Ghost is eternally dependent on the Father and the Son.
They said it already.
And then you're golden.
What would be the problem between Mother Teresa or somebody putting a gun in her mouth and pulling out right now? What would be the difference between the two? It seems like the difference between the two is the zilch, and I think anything that has that as a conclusion or something within it, that I think that any worldview that gives you that answer, I think is problematic. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's many different ways I would address this, but real quick, if you can, I appreciate the dialogue very much. I think I have got left over is that you're affirming.
I just want to know before you do, I just want to understand, because I'm not really clear as to what you're gobsmacked with, because what I've given you is an account of basically what humans called God. Okay, an actual account, an explanatory framework. It's not a full account, because for that you need to read the full arguments for necessary existence and divine simplicity and gradation. But we're not going to do that on Clubhouse, right? But there is an account where we don't need scripture. Okay, we don't need to read people's opinions. It's basically following some kind of logic, just like you would with 2 + 2 = 4, right? So it's something that is grounded in thought and reflection and pondering and intellect, not in a particular scripture and a particular language that landed at a particular time in history, much of which we can't even understand the head or tails of. You're comparing the two and you're saying you're gobsmacked by a rigorous, logical, explanatory framework account versus scripture in a particular language at a particular time in a particular geographical location, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years after humans have been around, for some reason just happened to come at that particular time. So what are you gobsmacked by? What do you think is more, what do you think is going to approach reality more than philosophizing?
Yeah. Well, certainly Christianity and philosophizing. But let me just say that I think that the thing that you're putting forth, I mean, even if I was an atheist, I would be gobsmacked. I mean, I find it to be just, you want to affirm theism as a term. You're like, well, I think I'm describing what theists have, are holding to. But, I mean, no. I mean, not monotheists, not in a way that...
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. Remember when you thought that I said the universe, but I didn't actually say that. I said reality.
Yeah,
I didn't say that. I'm explaining
close to that.
Yeah, but the nuance is so important. Precision is so important.
Go ahead and clarify.
So what I actually said was that the thing that people want to call God, when you get rid of all of the traditional and the emotive and the symbolic and the reified term language and baggage, what you're left with is we're just talking about existence.
Okay, but
we're just talking about pure existence. Because if I ask you about about the Father, right? If I ask you about the Father, can I
Yeah.
see the Father with my eyes?
I don't think so. Not unless.
Okay, so
I don't.
so the Father doesn't really have a gender, does he?
Refers to himself as a he, so I think he has certain.
Yeah, but that's just a pronoun, right? Like, he's not actually a male, right?
Well, I don't think he's Jesus is a male, but yeah.
No, but hold on, let's talk about the Father. The Father isn't really a male. He's not a human male, is he? Okay, so we don't really need to call it, like, what we want to do is remove this symbology, right? We want to chip away, get rid of all the stuff we don't need, okay? And then we can say it, right? We can say it.
That's fine.
Okay, so now we've got it. Now, this it is not going to be material, it's going to be immaterial. You agree?
That's right. Yep.
Okay, so it's an immaterial it. And we're not going to say that it has loads of different parts, because if it could just be one thing that doesn't have parts, or one thing that has loads of different parts, the simpler one would be the one that doesn't have any parts, right? It's just one thing. It's efficient. It doesn't need parts, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well,
So it's an it. It doesn't have a gender, obviously.
Right.
It's not material, and it is the fundamental reality of everything. And it's not even composed of parts. So it's simple.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to probably want to quibble with you over what we mean by simple and parts. I mean, I'm going to affirm that God has a mind. He has intentions. He has thoughts in some way. He has a nature. He has there's definitely purpose in his actions.
I see what you want to get at, Andrew. I completely understand. Completely natural, right? Now, let me ask you this question. Could we ask the question, let's say you and I, Andrew, we're living in Egypt. In fact, before even ancient Egypt. Right now, you and I are in Central Africa, tens of thousands of years before Jesus and Muhammad, right? You and I are having a conversation, and we're having this conversation, and we're like, yeah, this is amazing. The thing that we think is basically behind all of this stuff, we can say it's it. We've already gone through the fact that it's not a he, it's not a she. And also, it's probably not made of skin and material, right? It's going to be immaterial. And you say to me, well, what do you mean by immaterial, Matthew? And I say, well, Andrew, what I'm thinking is like, you know how sometimes you think about something? Yeah, that thought is not material, really, is it? So let's call it immaterial. And you're like, yeah, that's a good idea.
So that I could then cast the demon out. Would you say that would be disqualifying behavior or a speed bump?
It is disqualifying behavior at that stage of your life. It's not permanent.
He's saying that he triggers people that are assholes because they're liars, and he makes them mad, and they get triggered. And El Normo makes like crash out.
Well, I respect El Normo because he definitely has a ton of knowledge. He's an abundance. He's a very smart person. He's lived a life, not to give you too much El Normo, but I really do respect and appreciate you. And I love when you come forward and speak. You moderate very well on the app, and you definitely speak from experience and knowledge, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Thank you, bro.
100%. Dang. What, I guess all the women got tired and bored. They didn't want to hear all the niceness we had to say to you. But anyway, people have to leave for their own reasons.
I'm friends with Rena in real life.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Rena's a sweetheart.
Oh, yeah. No, they only left because Edmund's here.
I don't know. I think maybe a room opened up and they've all moved to that room. That might be it.
So Jeff did his thing then, huh?
Maybe he might have opened room. I don't know.
How did I end up being a fucking moderator? Jeez Louise.
Because the mods left and you were the next one.
I'm a mod in Cackle's house, and I've got the pink ticket. I'm not even a member yet.
But I will see you all around because I'm going to head out too. I have a client coming soon, so I'm just going to go into a room where I can just sit and listen. Much love to you guys. It's a little small interaction.
Juice.
The manta
Ray what kind of a client?
Operate on its own for a long time, cover long distances across the world, and carry giant payloads.
He found the other room that they all went to.
And it can even sit at the bottom of the ocean to save power. With this technology,
he's a
music producer. He does a lot of like video editing, and like he's very heavily in the music industry. That's the most I could probably say. But yeah, he's a, you know, if he really is who he says he is, he's a world-renowned fucking DJ. Because I mean, I've met the real DJ 3 times, but he always had his mask on, and you don't know who the DJ is, but he says he's that DJ, and he's self-proclaimed it many a time on this app.
He says he's which DJ?
DJ Sikic.
Electronic dance music?
Yes, like mashups and stuff. Yeah, SICK.
I have a favorite one of those named Solomon, who I read an article about. I like him a lot.
What was that? Saint Peter or Saint Paul? Which one was King Solomon? Oh no,
Solomon's the name of the DJ.
Oh no. Oh, I don't know. I was thinking about. I don't know when my head went to biblical.
Look at this guy!
I've been watching a lot of documentaries on the differences between Kronos and Zeus and Greek and Roman mythologies. So my head's kind of stuck in that area right now.
I hear you.
Herschel Weintraub, Hollywood producer. He wrote Space Jam.
It's so interesting to reading the Iliad or
broadly there were these ruling
the Epic of
families
Gilgamesh.
and their roles within the banking system and within the oil
I love
industry to a lesser.
Excellent.
What's one of your favorite texts that you like to read?
Reading a great Civil
So
War
apparently I'm
novel
living
now
under a
called
rock for the
Killer
past few
Angel.
years because there's a thing called a pedophilia
Is it
pride
a
flag.
fictitious
Now this flag doesn't come as a
or
surprise to me at all
a
because
true account?
Like every sports team.
I believe it's an attempt to give a very real account.
Like Dan Brown?
Major League
It
Baseball.
won a Pulitzer Prize.
Combine that. Now let's go to the World Cup.
Is it like Dan Brown's version of symbolism of Christianity?
I think it's better than that.
All the countries.
But it does the same kind of thing where it blends like a little bit of fiction with a little bit of truth.
It's a novel.
Okay, so it's fiction.
Yeah. It's a Civil War novel, but people like Marines are, at least they were required to read it.
Oh, really? I've never heard of this.
It's called The Killer Angels. I strongly recommend it. It's really great. Just getting into it. I was reading it yesterday, on Memorial Day. It was fun. I might read some now. The Killer Angels. The author's name is Shara.
Hold on.
Where's my marker? I'm
looking for the marker to my whiteboard right now.
I hear you. The Killer Angels by Shara.
That's what. Dude, I still haven't found it. Oh, I found my seeds. Oh, cool. I need to go to the garden. Deer horn.
You have a reputation whether you like it or not.
What the fuck? I'm turning into Sam Kinison over here. You know who Sam Kinison is?
Yeah.
Oh, did he leave? I'm looking and I fucking... Shit, John. You know what he just said?
Mm-mm.
Ah, fuck. I was gonna tell you to fucking text it to me. Never mind.
Oh,
Fuck me.
the band or whatever?
Yeah, that
book sounded interesting. But what's good in the hood?
Nothing. I'm gonna go to the gym at like 10 o'clock, and then I gotta paint this coach house. So I'll just be live streaming myself painting all day long, and then I've got to draft an appeal letter to the United States Treasury Department for my sexual harassment claim.
They're sexually harassing you?
I was called a whore by a 300-pound black woman who was my manager.
Well, damn.
But at that time, I wasn't smart enough to say, "Are you sure you're not projecting, you fat, disgusting pig?"
It is such a fucking beautiful day. Green grass is growing. Skies are bluer. The clouds are aloft. The birds are a chirping. And I got my bug zapper that I got from the flea market like a month or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it up a couple, like 2-3 weeks ago. And the motherfucker zaps all the fucking mosquitoes and everything down here. And then I was sitting out here just drinking a beer this morning, smoking a cigarette. I was just looking at the yard and the nice cool breeze of the morning. These birds are all flying over there where the zapper is,
Mm-hmm.
and all the bugs that hit the ground, they're over there just like, buffet. Yeah, I was like laughing my ass off, thinking that, circle of life kind of shit. Doc's place has got the smorgasbord going on. Apparently, it's a halal. Yeah, man. I get amusement from such simple things. Watching something grow out of the ground. Watching a woodpecker knock a hole in a tree. Watch mockingbirds be assholes to crows. I'm gonna get a chainsaw way off the background. So how was your Memorial Day, dude?
It was okay. I mean, just stayed at home and then went out for a nice dinner with this girl that I know.
You're such a man whore.
Maybe my manager was accurate when she called me a whore. Maybe this complaint, maybe I need to restructure and withdraw because maybe she was being accurate in her diagnosis.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you have to prove you're not a whore.
Exactly. Therefore, it's sexually harassing. You can't, say things like that to people at a lunch meeting in front of coworkers. It's inappropriate. And I don't care how many people say she doesn't have a filter. She's got a big fucking mouth is what she's got.
Oh. Shit. Dude. I see that. I like the way I grew up with, me being thrown into the family business of all the real estate closing shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do my chops, learning how to do all the county tax rolls, and then search OR books and pages under people's names, and then go to every official record book and page of everything that's ever been associated with that person's name through the registry. And this is before AI and all this bullshit. AI can do that nowadays. Everything's been digitized since 2000.
Mm-hmm.
We we started scanning everything in right around 2000. Like real, I mean, I'm talking about like everything. So like AI will be able to look at it and understand what it is. But with AI, what if AI is able to go in and like change all the digital footprint of the official record books? That's a scary part, because AI will deed shit to people, and it'll be theirs, and people will be like, "No, this is mine." I'm like, "No."
I'll be right back.
Man. And man, do I want to get that truck down? Take that bike apart? Do I want to drink more beer? Thank you, God. This day. Your will be done. Dang. Ain't that fun? Oh, this interview? Oh, good God. Mm-mm.
No, I'm on the toilet.
So that was a gasp for another push? You were like, Dude, this reminds me of being in like in the army. You had like the 12 like stalls side by side, and everybody was in there grunting like a motherfucker, maybe talking to each other. And then people start singing, and we all sing while we're all taking a shit. It's like, it was crazy. John, make sure you wipe from front to back. Do you still have that balls out video up on your fucking shit?
What?
I said, do you still have that one balls out yoga video where you're playing like your, space drum, doing your yoga in the sun and on the window in your apartment?
Yeah, I got like 100 videos like that.
Dude, you were infamous for that fucking video. We were literally talking about that in this room about 3 hours ago. Oh man, that's good. Yeah, man. Oh Jesus, Louises, this guy is fucking nutty. Let me tell you about my book. The original Sin book. You ever seen that motherfucker on this app or on the media?
Who?
The news anchor guy that wrote the book, The Original Sin.
Mm-mm.
And did you see how like Jon Stewart roasted the fuck out of him?
Mm-mm.
Look up Jon Stewart roasts Original Sin. Yeah, I have to stop watching all this political shit. It's driving my brain buggy.
You're spamming yourself.
Well, I read in subtitles while I talk to you and talk to other people on this app. Apparently somebody called me a polymath today. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Apparently I need to look it up, but I can't find my fucking dry eraser or dry marker. Fuck me. Apparently I need to get another fucking mate in this motherfucker. This one's fucking me up. Israel Hamas war minute. Hey, did you see they slammed Gaza last night and killed 80 people at a school?
Can you even believe the news? I just don't believe it. It's like so hard to believe anything.
No. It's totally confirmed. What Hamas had done is they had turned. Dude, school's been out for like years in the area. Like, you think kids are in the schools? Like, no. And like Hamas had set up their fucking command post in that motherfucker, and yeah, that motherfucker got slammed last night. Like in the night of Gaza,
which would have been probably like just before the end of Memorial Day yesterday. You know, they were getting slammed in the middle of the night, and they like literally killed like 80 people, fucked up a whole bunch more, and that's completely confirmed. I don't even need to get on the SIPRNet to do that, but I still have access to my AKO. You have access to your AKO?
No.
How about your e-benefits?
Yeah.
If you got an e-benefits account, you should be able to get an AKO account.
What do you do with the AKO? I can't remember what an AKO is.
It's Army Knowledge Online.
Oh.
But you'll get like news feeds that are the real news feeds off of like, you know, SIPRNet that have been declassified, so you have an understanding of what, you know, as a soldier, what you're potentially being exposed to, you know, currently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you start seeing a region start popping, you'll start seeing a lot of feeds come across about that region that's popping, and you might want to, like, you know, figure out like how to train your soldiers for that region, you know, in case you might have to deploy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way to be a good soldier.
I'm looking at a video of Benjamin Netanyahu in a Palestinian terror tunnel. Oh no, he's in Jerusalem. Never mind. It looks like a terrorist tunnel, but it's actually like an excavation tunnel.
What is it underneath, like, you know, the Temple Mount?
Yeah. How many people watched that video and thought he made a fucking, you know, incursion into Gaza? No way. Too dangerous.
Dude. I don't, as an American, obviously I don't really have a dog in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask me about, like, you know, as a leader, do I think Bibi is good or bad? I would say I don't think he's either. I think he's just trying to do the best thing he can do. I don't really fault the guy.
He's just one more guy. I mean, you know, it's just one more leader. It's just one individual. I mean, the buck doesn't. Israel is probably more of a coherent network of individuals. You know, the worst thing that I think about the U.S. and the military and the leadership, there's no cohesion, and they basically silo everyone all the time. So you never really. It's like if it's not like World War II where you think you're going to war with your best friend. You know. It's like they don't care who your best friend is. They break connections, essentially. They don't create connections. They silo everything. So that was my experience. I was like, why aren't I with this person? Why aren't I with, you know, it's like they, it's just, you know, it's a monolith. So you just put the data into the system, and there's no actual like camaraderie or cohesion in many ways. They break it. They basically break it.
Is that a personal perspective, or is that
personal?
Like, you know,
my experience, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, some people don't acclimate, and then that's why they have like a failure to acclimate to your standards, like clause.
I don't know. Also,
I mean, the UCMJ is very clear about this.
What does the UCMJ say?
Failure to acclimate to military standards. Yeah, it's a clause for ejecting you out of the military.
Oh, I see.
man, think about it like this: when the military became integrated, and that was before civil rights. The military did it first. If you were a white soldier trying to, oh Jesus Lord, yeah, I hear you. I only got one. Damn it. It's all right. One. This is my water delivery. I get spring water from North Carolina.
Is it for drinking water?
Yeah, you just throw it right there in the shade, sir. And appreciate you.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Have a good day. And your water's the best, by the way. My dogs love it. I said, your water's the best. My dogs love it. Yeah. No, I get 5-gallon jugs delivered. I'm too lazy to go to the store and pick them up. Well, because I rent, one of those office water machines. I rent the water machine for like $6.80 a month. And then because I have that, they'll deliver water to my house, and I'm only paying like $10 for spring water from North Carolina. It ain't distilled water. It ain't no, spring water from like Florida. I mean, like Zephyr Hills, Decini bullshit. Actually, really, really fucking good water. I pride myself on the fact that I drink really fucking good water and really good beer. Dude, I drink more than a gallon of water a day. You can't drink this much beer and not. What's up, Ben? I think the room's open for anybody to come up.
Ben doesn't ever say anything. Ben just listens. He uses me as his radio station.
Well, you are quite entertaining. But yeah, man, my dogs drink good water. I drink good water.
It's just my channel. This is my channel. Thank you, brother.
Is this Elmo?
Kids on a party entertainment. Elmo.
Yeah, you sound like Elmo.
The Tao that can be told
Probably
is
most
not
by
the
now.
eternal Tao. The name
Interdenominational.
that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one sees the manifestations. These two spring from the same source, but differ in name. This appears as darkness. Darkness within darkness. The gate to all mystery. Under heaven, all can see beauty as beauty only because there is ugliness. All can know good as good only because there is evil. Therefore, having and not having arise together. Difficult and easy complement each other.
My social calendar forced me to rely on takeout. Factor helped me take control over what I'm eating and spending on takeout.
the way the world is going, today's sponsor, Bula, to support them, brought to you by Skip. 20% off your first. Sony's free to qualify. Appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you having me.
And they told me, not that they ever tell me much, and I like it that way, but that you don't drink. So
No, but I'll have a shot or two with you.
So I can't tell you. I can't tell you how often this happens. I said it last week, I think. Like somebody was here, and it's like, you know, the handlers are always like, well, you know, he's recovering and he doesn't want to be around smoke and he doesn't drink and don't play. And then they're like, hey, bro, why aren't you passing the joint, or can I have a drink? Or
Yeah, I'm not like I just don't really drink because it doesn't, you know.
it's smart. It's the worst thing for you.
I'm kind of health terrified. You know.
What does that mean?
I try to, you know, every day I have a pretty intense schedule. I do a morning show.
Yeah.
Then I skate. I'm filming skating with my crew.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to make sure that every day I'm going to be at 100%. So
You're like Brian Johnson without a perfect penis.
Oh, all right.
You know who he is?
Are you referring to the guy who did steroids, or the guy who's doing the weird medical treatments to?
The guy who wants to live forever.
Yeah. But you know about Liver King too, right?
But who?
Liver King.
I've heard that. Who is that? What is
Just
that?
super ripped guy, and his
Liver
name is
King.
also. I think his name is Brian Johnson as well.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the secret.
Doing steroids.
But what does the Liver King do? He does something with his liver, make him live forever?
Eats it.
He eats liver.
I think that's what his thing was. I didn't really follow him.
Not his own, you're saying?
No.
Oh.
Well, but I think his whole shtick was he eats like raw meat and claimed that would make you ripped and manly, but he was doing steroids. So.
Well, he was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man.
Well, that'll make you ripped and not manly because it makes your arms bigger and shrinks your balls.
So right here.
I mean, like, I never understood that kind of a trade-off. You know, like, okay, I want to excel at this, I assume, so I can get chicks. But then when I get them, my dick, yeah, I've got a mushroom dick, you know.
Yeah. There's so much weird stuff now. Like, I've had guys talking about, like, peptide things they take and HGH. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'll get old. That's what I'll do.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I had this actual discussion with Joe Rogan on his show, and you know, he does the exogenous creams and stuff, and just I think he's pretty upfront about that, and it's legal. I mean, it's not. We're not talking about steroids. We're talking about
testosterone cream.
Yeah, but I mean, testosterone does decrease as you get older. That's a fact, and of course that makes you, especially if you're a male, only if you're a male, I guess, with testosterone, less healthy. Just ask Joe Biden. Oh no, too soon. Sorry, we wish you well, Joe. So you know, I said, yeah, that stuff is scary to me because when anything you do that the body isn't doing naturally always has the possibility of some bad repercussions. Yeah. And like, if you had like cancer cells in your body, and we all have some, you know, sometimes you do something to make you healthier and it'll soups up the thing that's not healthy. And he had a good answer though. I said, you know, I'm afraid that this will make me unhealthy enough. And he said something like, well, I do it because I'm afraid to be unhealthy, which is, I understand what he's saying. Without the proper amount of testosterone, your health does suffer.
Yeah.
So he's putting it back in. We don't know. That's the thing about medicine. We don't know.
I think it's also bad for your heart, though, isn't it? Testosterone.
I'm sure it's bad for a lot of things. Look, if it's bad for your balls, it's got to be bad throughout those. I mean, I just go by that test, wouldn't you? I mean, it's just I feel like sometimes the people who know the most have the least common sense.
Perhaps.
I mean,
yeah. You know, one thing that I've been dying to tell you, given the chance, is, you know, I do this talk show, I do this news show 20 years ago.
I know.
Well, it's your fault. 20 years ago, every Friday, me and my friends are hanging out at, shout out to Roger and my boy Brandon, who works with me now.
Where is this?
Chicago.
Right.
And they were stoned off their asses, passing the joint, blowing pot smoke into an iguana's face while we watched Real Time with Bill Maher.
No.
And I was 18 or 19 years old, and that's what we did every Friday.
That's so cool.
Watching your show.
I love it that they were blowing the pot smoke.
And the iguana loved it.
Who did?
The iguana. It loved getting stoned.
Oh, a real iguana.
Literally, there was an iguana, and then one day, I guess the iguana got out and started eating their pot. So it was like, this is not a good thing, but also kind of funny.
Animals do. I mean, I remember with my dogs, not that I would do it on purpose. But, you know, I would not blow smoke in their face. I'm a PETA board member, for Christ's sake. So, but like if I was smoking and not thinking about it, and the dog was sitting next to me, I would see him like trying to like bite the air. So that told me something about
something about it. Huh?
Unlike testosterone, I used the common sense yardstick, and it told me that the pot is not bad for you if the dog is trying to eat it out of the air.
Did you mix your tequila? I don't want to.
Yes. Did you? I think you said shot. Did you want it?
Oh, I'll just sip a little bit and then wash it.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
What is it, do you think, that is making people so mad at you?
Fake news.
Well, that's very general, Tim.
It is, but
fake news. What do you mean? I mean, I saw things. Somebody sent me. I don't know why they send me these things. Like the other day, it said. I mean, I'm not even on any of these sites. Facebook, nothing. Instagram, wouldn't know how to get on it. It was Bill Maher's old girlfriends, and it was like this, like a cavalcade. Some of which were my old girlfriends, and some of which were just completely pulled right out of their ass. So, like, fake news. My point I'm making is it covers a lot of territory.
For sure. It's there's a hyperpolarization happening among the younger generation that's substantially more pronounced than the older generation, and the younger generation is substantially more considering violence than the older generation did. So when you look at the polls, it's really interesting how the polarization expands.
I can see that.
Yeah. So, you know, I would say like the bulk of our viewers are probably in their 30s. So we have 18-year-olds too, but they're a smaller percentage, but basically 25 to 54 who watches us.
Right.
Got a lot of people in their 30s. And what ends up happening is, and this is true for people on the left, the right, doesn't matter who you are, someone's going to take something you said, it's going to be pulled out of context.
Of course.
And then it makes people go nuts. So
ED has affected my confidence. I found him. The app is easy. I know that I'm going to be ready.
You know, there's so many of these things that are absolutely wild for me. So I don't have the worst of it. There's other people in media that have it substantially worse than I do. Their Wikipedia pages are just rife with weird, fake nonsense that's made up.
I mean, I just don't feel like anybody in this country can even presume that what people think about them is anywhere near the truth. And if you do think that, you're very naive, and people are just going to want to believe. Somebody told me just the other day that, speaking of girlfriends, this one is funny. This one wasn't in that list, but they could have put it there. But they were out to dinner with a few people, and this person said that I used to date Ann Coulter.
I've heard that.
I have heard it. Okay, well, it's not true, and both of us would say that. Now, am I friends with her? Yes. And anyone who doesn't like that can go fuck themselves. I'll be friends with whoever I want. I think I proved that over and over again, including with Donald Trump. You know, I believe in talking to people. But it's not like I've ever, to either one of them, given an inch on what my beliefs are. It's not like I'm taking it. I just think we need to talk to each other. And anyone who doesn't want to do that. But, you know, this idea that the image that people have of you is anywhere near what you really are, yes, that got way worse in the internet age, but I think it was almost always thus.
Absolutely.
It
goes both ways too. My fans think they know me based on seeing my face for, you know, well, to be honest, I do like 5 hours of recording a day. But those that watch, they watch several hours a day, and they think this shows them everything about me.
Right.
And to be honest, the people who watch me are much better informed as to who I am than the people who don't. But they still have this, probably, you know, rose-colored glasses view of who I am and what I represent and stuff.
So better. You say rose-colored.
Yeah, they're fans. And so they...
But sometimes fans, I mean, about a month ago, during my monologue, this had never happened in over 600 tapings in real time, but during my monologue, I see a guy in the audience with his phone out taking a picture of me. And I stopped the monologue. I mean, I walked over. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? There's no taking pictures here. And then, you know, the audience laughed, and I said, it's so disappointing when even your own fans are assholes. You know, because like it takes a lot to get tickets to real time. People write in, and any guy's a fan, and it's just. But like people can be assholes even your own. You can't ever be so purist as to think, well, you know, the good people. I mean, that's one of our big problems, I think, politically. It's like this idea that we're the good people. We know we know what's good, and anyone who doesn't agree with that, well, they're an existential threat to America, and that happens on both sides.
I agree, but you know, it is a weird position for me to be in. I was talking to some friends before the show, and I was saying, like, I think that if you and I discussed policy solutions for the country, I'd probably be to the left of you. But
in some ways, yeah.
Probably most
you
ways.
like Bernie.
I did.
I like Bernie, but I don't want socialism in America. You know, more than what we have. We already have plenty.
But the issue is, today I feel like what defines someone politically is not it's not the policies they want, but it's what they believe to be true.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, Matt Taibbi writes about this.
I'm a big fan. He's amazing.
Yeah,
and they call him far right.
I sure don't agree with everything he says. I mean, I think he's wrong about Russiagate and a lot of other stuff. But first of all, he's just funny. He can say things that make me LOL. I cannot say that about many writers. Just the choice, like, description of something in one or two words is just very often just priceless. But what were you talking about? Why did I bring up Matt Taibbi? What did he say?
What makes someone liberal, conservative?
Oh yes, he writes so well about this and about how the modus operandi of news organizations used to be informing the public, and then it became audience stroking. How can we interpret this thing that just happened in such a way that our audience will give us likes? I like that. I like you said it that way. I like your point of view because that's what I already think, and I hate them, and so I like.
He's right.
He's right.
Yeah.
No, and it's just.
I worked for ABC. Started ABC Univision did a joint venture in 2014 called Fusion, and I was at Vice, and I moved over there, and then they told me that the new trend was going to be called mission-driven storytelling. And I said, what does that mean? And they said, there's no such thing as objectivity. Everyone is subjective. So we're going to tell the stories that our audience wants to hear. I had a meeting with the president, and he was talking to me about this, and I said, does that mean if there is a news story that is true and important, we would choose not to report it because it might upset our audience? And he said, yeah, I think that's fair. The company went bankrupt. They fired everybody. But this wasn't unique to them. They were chasing the trend. One of the marketing guys told me explicitly, we want to maximize shares because we have to maximize views. We have to maximize views because we've already sold a set amount to the advertisers. One company bought 500,000 views from us. We don't complete that contract until those views are delivered. How do we deliver them? Angry moms. Middle-aged women who are angry share more than anyone else, so we're going to write stories that do that. That's actually what he told me. So it was social justice, it was racism.
I just pictured my writers all guffawing just because, you know, I'm always I've had like a writer's room since 1993, politically incorrect. Yeah, that show went on there. So
I was a little kid.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's, you know, the joy of my life, one of the great joys is having a writer's room. I've said this before, but like Paul McCartney once said, I'd rather have a band than a Rolls Royce. And I'd rather have a writer's room. But a writer's room has always been me, the bachelor, and then like 10 guys who were married and are always making, like, just in the room, this is not going to be on the show, but like always just making jokes about marriage and how they don't get laid and they don't get blown. You know, it's like it just never.
Telling you don't get married.
Well, everybody does it. I watch TMZ every night. The guys, the people in the the gallery that Harvey talks to, it's the same thing. They're just endless jokes that are made about how much marriage sucks. But if you say a bad word against it, they're like, you're the crazy one. You're a newlywed, right?
I am, yeah. But you know, I think
awkward.
No, but I agree. I think, you know, I'm 39 and I just had my first child, and it's amazing. And I just got married, and I do think for the millennial generation, largely, every TV show, we didn't have these wholesome family shows. Everything was like Marriage is Scary and Bad and mocking marriage.
So like, which ones? Like
Married with Children.
Yeah, I was on it.
Oh wow!
I was a guest star. I played a game show host on Married with Children.
I mean,
you can look it up on YouTube.
I'll take a look.
You should. It's pretty funny.
But I understand that there were those moments where they loved each other, but it very much was this slog of like, oh no, I'm married. It's bad. Oh geez. So what do you think happens when these millennials grow up and they get these red pill dating guys saying everything they grew up hearing is true, but not comedy, serious, and then they end up believing it?
Okay, but Tim, the reason why those jokes work is because that's how people do feel about marriage.
Yeah.
You know, you're a newlywed is what you are. You know,
we've known each other for almost 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
So you married your high school sweetheart?
I guess technically we
it's like something Dick Cheney does.
It's pure luck. I am lucky. I'm lucky, which I don't like that.
Just look at me.
We're both from Chicago. We both like the same music. We have very similar views. We're both lapsed Catholics, and it's like, you're lucky. I got lucky, and I know.
Well, I'm a lapsed Catholic. We could have a throuple.
Last warning: if you did not claim your funeral benefit, pay close attention.
Pass. No, I am lucky, and it's weird how I see all these stories and people talk about marriage, and I'm like, it sounds like you got married to someone you don't really know, because Allison and I know each other very well, and we get along very well, and we're both very rational, reasonable people.
That's a great thing to find in a woman.
I know.
And I don't mean that. I'm not saying women are crazy. They're not. Men are also, or let's put it this way, we're both crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not like men aren't emotional and blah, blah, blah. But I don't really care about that aspect in men because I don't date men. What I care about is the opposite sex. And if you can find a woman who's sexy and also rational, that's great, because they sometimes, let's just put it this way, they sometimes don't go hand in hand.
That's true. It's funny that I was
talking
to my wife, and I made a joke. I said, "Bitches be crazy, yo," which is a line from the movie.
Of course, it's enough.
And then she goes, "Are you kidding?" She's like, "I've watched you guys out there at the skate park. You guys are nuts." And I look out the window, and one of our team riders is like trying to jump off a building, and I was like, "She's right. Men are crazy in different ways.
Different ways, of course.
We got a guy
Absolutely.
so we bought these things called Grabos. Okay, they are handles with vacuums that you can stick to a wall. And I bought them because they were funny.
Handles with
vacuums. Okay, so it's this oval, and it's got a handle in it. You take it, you press a button, put it on the wall.
It's like what Tom Cruise uses to climb down a 130-story building, right, doing his own stunt in Mission Impossible.
And
right. And they say Scientology doesn't make it crazy.
Well, so one of our skateboarder team riders, Mike Noggle, decided he was going to jump up on his board against the wall, grab them, and then flip himself upside down. And then he fell on his head, and he had to go to the hospital. And so I said, my wife is right. Men are crazy in different ways.
Yeah. Again, no doubt about that. It just doesn't matter to me because I don't have relationships with men that involve, once in a while there have been guys I like and I'm not going to mention everybody specifically, but they will get a little girl-like, and I will have to say to them, bro, I don't have this kind of shit with women. You think I'm going to have it with you? Like, I'll call you back when I'll call you back. Okay? No nagging. If I want to be nagged, I'd have gotten married. I wouldn't do this for a woman. So just don't be so clingy. The way the world is going, everybody could use therapy, but mental health professional. Rule of matches you heard about them. Take off your shoes. You can have an invisible belt. Get your hands free. Find them in shoe stores. I said, how's your wife like West Virginia?
I think she likes it. I think
like Green Acres. She wishes
she wants to be in Montana.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why Montana?
Anywhere. She actually probably Wyoming, and she loves skiing, and I would love to go there as well. In fact, we looked there before coming to Western Maryland, but it's impractical to try and do an in-person news show from Wyoming or Montana. So
why is it any more impractical than West Virginia?
Because we're an hour from DC. So you land at Dulles and you're an hour and a half, and you're in the studio ready to go.
Right.
Yeah, I looked at Maine too. Because we were like far away, middle of nowhere,
right,
safer, more secure, and we need the internet. So East Coast is best. Half the country lives on the East Coast.
Right.
So if we could, we would have done Wyoming, and then been skiing and farming and whatnot.
Well, this goes to what I always say about politics, I think, which is that it's an outgrowth of personality. Obviously, your personality is you want to be remote. You're not a city guy, even though you're from Chicago. That's not your personality. You're a guy. West Virginia was not remote enough for you. You wanted someplace with an even bigger sky. Montana, Wyoming.
I think eventually. For us, it's
I'm a suburban guy. Like, I grew up in the suburbs. I never liked living in New York City. I know it's a great city, and I enjoy going there a few times a year in the spring and the fall when the weather's nice, and I know a lot of people. Of course, it's the greatest, but I never enjoyed being there. I like the suburbs. That's what's just my personality.
I agree.
Maybe that's why I'm sort of like somebody who both sides can talk to, because I'm not exactly a city dweller, but I'm also don't want to live in the middle of bumfuck.
What's fascinating is my neighborhood from Chicago turned red. And so my audience, the biggest demographic is location-wise is Chicago, and it's a weird position to be in because to see Chicago's liberal. My neighborhood was by the Midway Airport, and it's a lot of firefighters and cops.
Yeah.
And it's largely like Polish immigrant and then like white working class and Hispanic, and it flipped for Trump in Chicago, and I think
some parts of the Bronx too.
Oh wow. I think my politics are like if you're I'm like a Chicago liberal, but the way things have gone, especially with like the woke stuff, is where I end up in this position, and so does my neighborhood. I think it's interesting to see my neighborhood reflective of my politics and vice versa.
I think the phrase I was using last year was aggressively non-common sense or uncommonsensical. And it's like I accent aggressively. I don't think the woke people who have the vast amount of energy really in the Democratic Party understand why the people vote against them. And it's like, because if you add up like how many people are really affected by some of the aggressively uncommon sense things, it's probably not that many.
You had a great bit on that.
Yeah.
Why are you pandering to 400 people?
Of course. Okay. But when you add up these things and, men competing in women's sports and like just too much indoctrination of children with sexual ideas that they're too young to understand. Like when you add up all these things that get in the media a lot, it paints a picture, not a wrong picture, in the mind of the average voter that, yeah, maybe policy-wise I would do better under the Democrats or Bernie Sanders. But these other people just seem fucking crazy. They seem like committed to just going to absurd lengths just for shits and giggles, just for the fuck of it, just this bizarre attachment to things that are just ridiculous.
I think it's to hate the other side.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's certainly what the other side does. They call it making you cry your liberal tears.
Right.
The entire policy, well, not always. Now, there are some things that have different motivations. I know you're involved with the tariff debate.
Oh, yeah.
Because, that works both ways. Sometimes free trade does hurt people. Yeah. And that's why there are tariffs. Trump is not the first person to advocate tariffs. He's just the first person to do it in this kind of crazy, haphazard way.
Right. I agree. I think that, when he announced selective tariffs, I was like, all right, let's go. Then when he announced universal tariffs, I was like, I don't know if that makes sense. What is he doing? And but I'm not in.
I'm never meal prepping as an empty nester again. Factor showed me how delicious and easy dinner can be. I've been making dinners for a lifetime. It's so much work. With the kids out of the house, all that effort seemed silly for 2 people. Then I found Factor. These chef-made meals come to the house, so all we gotta do is heat them up. Takes 2 minutes. We love picking our weekly meals. I'm trying different proteins, and my partner's happy as long as it's low calorie. Knowing everything's pre-portioned makes us feel like we're on track with our wellness. Don't wait like I did. Give Factor a go.
At Mint Mobile, we're always looking for innovative ways to save you money, so you can keep paying $15 a month for premium wireless. That's why instead of hiring an expensive director for this commercial, we found someone willing to work for candy and approval. Hey, sweetie, Daddy's face is up here. Okay, there you go. All right, admit, no, too high, honey. There you go. Hey, huh? Nap time. So embarrassing. Sorry, guys, this one's on me.
I think one of the problems that we've seen over the past several years with Trump is the immediate assumption that that he's a crazy person all the time. And so the only thing I can say is, well, I vote for the guy. I think this is probably doesn't make sense to me, but I'll see what happens and we'll see if it makes sense. Selective tariffs, I think, do make sense. But I do think that the way the Democratic Party has handled opposition has guaranteed the kind of Trumpian politics.
Well, I'm sure you heard about my little trip to the White House.
Absolutely.
And thank you. And the thing that upset the far left so much, these same people who believe in the crazy things I was just mentioning, and the ones who really hate me, they really found a new reason to hate me, because when I came back and gave my report about it, among the things I said, to your point about everything isn't crazy, was, I think, word for word, a crazy person doesn't live in the White House. A person who plays a crazy person on TV lives in the White House. Yeah. And they found that very triggering. But again, as I said many times during that piece, I'm just going to tell you the truth. I didn't vote for him. I think we all know that. I went right back to being as tough on him as I ever had been. So I wasn't seduced, but that was my estimation. Again, to your point about, is he just crazy? When you meet him in person and spend that kind of time, and he's not on his his attack mode thing, he does not strike you as a crazy person or a person who doesn't listen or can't hear things. Again, they were very mad at me for saying this, but that's what happened. And I am not a liar. That's my main bond with the audience. So even if I offended some people by telling the truth, in the long run, that's what I do. And they,
What I saw in 2020, I was not going to vote for Trump. I'll never vote for Trump on election. And I donated the max to Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard. And my position, my thought process was the Democrats are going crazy, and we need the moderate, sane Democrats to maintain control of this party and stop the insanity.
Correct.
And they lost.
And they lost.
And so then Trump put out his statement around August saying, we're going to ban DEI in government contracting. We're going to do these things, blah, blah. No new wars was big for me. I'm a very, anti-interventionist for a lot of reasons. And so I said, I guess I'm voting for Trump. Instantly, it was like the liberals, even YouTube, they all said, we're going to move your name over to this list. I kid you not. There's representatives at YouTube. They told me straight up that the liberal rep was no longer representing me, and they were switching me to a conservative rep. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not that I like who Trump is or that I'm like thinking that conservatives have good policy. I'm pro-choice. The issue is that you can look at it right now. There's no charismatic leaders. There's no front runners. There's no policy position. It seems like the only thing they have is the right is bad, Trump is bad. And so I'm asking, like, what are our plans?
No, they have Democrats have policy positions on everything, and many of them are I think preferable to Republican policy positions. Number one being they concede elections. That's kind of a big one with me. They listen to what courts say.
I don't know about that.
You don't think they listen to what courts say?
So Joe Biden,
that's
ignored the court rulings twice on forgiving student loans, and then tried to decree the Equal Rights Amendment.
That's true.
But I'm not saying Trump. I'm just saying, like,
Club Random is brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Choices U.S. 10. You're interesting enough to earn a $1 and they get a shot from zipper.com/random. Pick next day. There are issues like what you mentioned, which is not untrue, where it's so easy for them to go, well, they did this, so we're going to do it 5 times worse. And then they do. But there are some like that. But there's one that has no fuzz on it, and that's elections. When Democrats lose elections, it's over the next day. Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton.
Not Hillary Clinton.
Not
Al Gore.
Al Gore that was not Al Gore doing that. That election was obviously decided by 537 votes. There was an absolute, when it's that close, there should be a recount. And whether that recount went the right way, we'll never know, because that state was run by Catherine Harris and Jeb Bush.
There's a really good, I guess, I don't know if you call it a philosophical point that I've noticed that I think you're experiencing right now is I'm 39. So you lived through a lot of these administrations and these political cycles.
Yeah.
And you have experiences that I don't even know they exist.
Yeah, but you know what? I didn't live through Lincoln, but I know about it.
Sure. My point is, my experience in politics has been the Democrats have challenged more than Republicans. To be fair,
Trump challenged the court?
Challenged the elections more than the Republicans have, in extreme ways.
That's ridiculous.
So, but perhaps because you're older than me and you've seen more than I have.
Again, there are history books, there are newspapers. You don't know something only because you lived through it. I know about the French Revolution also.
My point is,
I mean, you could know about this.
Indeed.
This is something that people your age say all the time, and I've made fun of it before. Like, if I wasn't alive for it, it didn't happen. I don't have to know about it.
But I'm saying that in 2016, I didn't vote for either Trump or Hillary, and then I got 3 years of Trump as working for the Russians.
He was not working for the Russians.
Jonathan Chait went on MSNBC and said he may have been a Soviet asset since the 80s.
Well,
and so for me, I'm like, I'm out. This is crazy. And so, like, understand, I'm not saying you're wrong about history. I'm saying that experiencing a political cycle over years is different from reading the condensed history books, which of course I do. So to live through 4 years of a president, their term, every single moment, the history books gloss over most of those experiences that we don't have as young people. So I have people on my show who are 25. And one of the people who works for us says, nothing ever happens. She's 24. And this is like a Gen Z thing. Nothing ever happens. And I said, are you kidding? The past 10 years have been nothing but happenings.
Yeah.
Here's the issue. When she was 14, she wasn't paying attention to politics. When she was around 20 years old and started, this was the natural state of politics in her experience. So this is basic. This is normal. And for me, it's crazy. And I think for you, it's crazy. But they grew up in this and they've normalized it. So my view is this. Not to say that you're wrong, obviously. My point is, when I watched the Democrats accuse Trump and Manafort and Carter Page and all of these things, especially when they fabricated evidence against Carter Page, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe the Democrats are going to this length to deny an election.
You're watching a little too much Fox News or somebody who's slanting this a certain way. I mean, Paul Manafort was sharing polling information with the GRU.
Is your boyfriend struggling with ED? Let me tell you my boyfriend's secret. It's hard men's by hymns.
Agent.
And do you know how they found out about that?
How did they find out about that?
Ukrainian government officials shared with the Democratic Party. Politico reported that. So you have this Ukrainian interference in our election as reported by Politico. And I look at that and I go, wow, the Ukrainian government sent incriminating evidence to the Democrats? Crazy story. Then they claimed
But it was true.
Indeed. And the issue is, why wasn't that a scandal? That the Ukrainians were interfering in the election?
let's not get, because this is a friendly thing, let's not get into the weeds on like the Russia thing. First of all, it's like 5 years old, so people are bored with it. Okay, but I'll just say this in general. It would be hard to argue with it, I think, but I'll just say it, and maybe we can just move on. Whatever it was, I don't think Trump was a Russian asset. Don Jr. at one point said, or maybe it was Eric, we do get a lion's share of our to the company from the Russians. So there was obviously a lot of involvement with the Russians. Trump was asked at his first press conference, and he said, I have no dealings with the Russians. It's a total, complete lie. They had nothing. It's not illegal. But it just looks suspicious to say I don't know anything about the Russia. And they're like, I don't know anybody who's talking to the Russians. Everybody in the administration, Michael Flynn was prosecuted for it. Was talking to the Russians. He said on TV, Russia, if you're listening, I want your help with something. Okay, whether you think that's good or bad, it was completely unprecedented. So, like the idea that he should not have been investigated for. There's a lot of smoke here with Trump and Russia. To me, okay, I'm sure they overdid it as everybody overdoes everything, but there was a lot of smoke, enough to investigate, and what he was asking another country to do in our elections publicly was unprecedented. We always had one rule in this country: we're going to go against each other. Yes, Republican, Democrat, we'll do whatever it takes, but we don't bring in ringers from outside.
Ukraine.
What they brought that in the same election?
I forgot the name of the woman. This is on Politico. You can just read their story. It was I can't remember the guy's name who reported it.
No, it's possible that again, there's always some version of it on the other side. It's just not as egregious, I think.
They're accusing me of working for the Russians now, and this is, or they tried. And so here's the story. I get contacted by a conservative personality. I've got 3 shows that I host, several that I have staff that host. One of them is called The Culture War.
Right.
We produced it for 2 years, Friday mornings, similar to this. Sometimes debates. And I was reached out by like 3 different companies who said, we want to license something you're doing. And I said, we do our own internal ad sales. We don't need a license. Some offers were made. Some of them were really good. And I said, I'm not really interested because the ad sales I can generate exceed your licensing. And so I get reached out by this company in Tennessee from a well-known, prominent conservative personality who works for one of the big companies and said, we've secured an investor. We want to license the show. We negotiated terms. Lawyer negotiated terms, market rate. Non-exclusive license for distribution. They could sell the ads on the show. I get the money, the licensing fee, which basically, I can choose to grow the show for 2 years or just license it now and take the money.
You sound like you're a naturally savvy businessman.
Maybe. Well, this didn't work out too well for me because what happened was at the end of last year, the DOJ indicted some random, I say random because they're not personalities from Russians, who were apparently in some Eastern European country, claiming that they were funneling money illicitly into this conservative company in Nashville to then promote Russian propaganda or something. The narrative now is Tim Pool was prosecuted for working for the Russians. The real story is the DOJ launched an indictment and dropped it almost immediately with no evidence, accusing a conservative personality of illicitly taking money from the Russians without evidence, destroyed the company, destroyed their lives, and then impugned the honor of anybody who had done any license agreements with a Nashville-based company.
Well, you really hit people's nerves.
But I didn't do anything.
I tell you what I'm not going to do is show up unannounced at your door in the middle of the night. Hey, be like Sonny on the Causeway, it'll be the end of Bonnie and Clyde. I'll just be like riddled. And, yeah, boy,
it's a crazy.
You got to take it as kind of a compliment. People care.
That's true. If not, I don't know.
But does it make your wife nervous? Does she hate it? Does she like, get out of the game, man?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Get out of the game. Yep. Really? And what do you say when she says, get out of the game?
Yes.
You do? You're going to get out of the game?
So
no.
Yeah, last October, I basically was just fed up.
What's a game?
With politics.
The game?
Absolutely. And I said, before I started doing my nightly show, I work 16 hours a day plus.
I was going to say, you got so much going on. Maybe just cut back. Less hours, more guns.
Maybe. Here's the problem. And I know that you can relate to this. I've got employees. I got staff.
Do you know you can have a harpoon legally in some states in this country?
I like that.
In case you're attacked by a whale.
But if I stop, then I got to fire everybody.
Well, that's a noble thing. And I've heard it before from people. And I always think it's bullshit. It's like you're hiding behind that. You really want to keep working. Because you know why? Like you achieved a big thing. You were a big success. No one saw it coming, including you, right? Did you think you were going to be this when you were 15?
In some form, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm a
good
piece of shit.
But doing this exact thing? Or close to it?
Close to it.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be a comedian before I was 10.
Yeah.
And then I imagined, in my day it was Johnny Carson, so I imagined being that, but it morphed into more, I think a political talk show, but also a gregarious, charming host would be, a great combination.
I think people who claim otherwise are lying. Not always. But come on, you didn't try your hardest and grind your fingers to the bone to get here thinking you weren't going to do it,
No, exactly.
You
but
got
I'm
everything.
saying, I'm sure you're doing this and to keep your staff employed, but really, you want to do it because, and why wouldn't you? You're 39. If you quit now, man, first of all, you're going to regret it because, once you quit, can you get it back? Yeah. But the audiences move on quickly.
Yep.
They
do now, too.
No, I'm saying, they always have.
Yeah.
Like when you go, you think you're so indispensable, and this is anybody, and you're not, because there's always people wanting to take your place. It
happens no matter what.
You could be at the top of the heap. You'd be
just me sitting here right now.
Imagine making $453,000 in a single month as an affiliate marketer without relying on Google, Facebook, or ClickBank, or creating new accounts on Pinterest, Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram. This may sound like a big claim, but I'm here to show you how this is possible in 50 seconds. Hi, I'm Adam Charrington. I've been an affiliate marketer for over 20 years, and I'm the founder and CEO.
With you, you have I would say that real time. From my circle, I don't know, but I feel like it's the most consequential political show.
I appreciate that because it is, even though the problem is that the most influential media is controlled by that far left that hates me.
Yeah.
So they will never give it up to me.
But
they will never write about it, say that. Nobody ever covers it. It's just their thing is even though the audience is always there, and almost always in much bigger numbers than the things they do cover.
One of the biggest videos we have, I think, is us talking about what you said. but
I said that it means so much to me because
it's not always good things we're saying.
But at least you're watching,
right?
And you're allowed to be wrong.
Yeah, I say similarly. But my point is there are people that I bring on my show who are in the 20s. Man, I've been watching you for years.
Yeah.
And I'm one day you will be sitting where I am, and I'll be retired. And
I don't even care if everybody agrees all the time. It's just that. It's about, and I think you would say the same for your show, it's about taking you seriously. It's about having the credibility to have them listen to whatever you're saying. And then you can say your thing. But usually they know, well, maybe he's not completely wrong about that one.
What I'm really interested in is Real Clear Politics put out this aggregate polling by decade age. I don't say demographic because it was 18 to 29 and it was 30 to 39.
Yeah.
And only one bracket was anti-Trump, and it was 70 plus. And then
I saw that.
Gen X was a tie. And then there's I really want to talk to you about this too. They're saying that Gen Z is becoming more Christian.
Yep,
and moving to the right.
Heard that too.
I'm wondering what's going to happen in 10 years. The boomers are going to be moving on, passing on. I'm not trying to be crass, but it's true. We're retiring.
You can say dead.
They'll be dead.
Yeah.
And what happens to politics in this country?
Not me, haters.
Bill's going to live forever.
Fucking haters and clickbaiters.
The pot and the booze is going to make you young.
I mean, do I look like I'm at death's door?
No, you look pretty good.
Do I act like it? I've never missed a show, except the two they forced me to miss when I had COVID. Wink. They forced me because, of course, I could have contaminated, and the entire city could have died.
I think I would have died, to be honest.
You would?
I got real sick.
Pussy.
Yep. And then Joe Rogan saved my life.
How? Ivermectin?
No, well, technically. So I had called the hospital because my temperature was low. And I was shaking really bad, and I was really bad pain. I would say the worst pain I've ever had.
Okay, why are you in such bad health to begin with? Because unless you're in bad health,
I was fatter.
That's it. I always said that about COVID. Who does it kill? Fat people and very old people. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. That's just the truth. No, obviously it can kill anybody and blah blah blah, and we should protect. And we should, the most vulnerable. But that's who would kill. That's what bugged me about all of our medical profiles are unique. That's why I don't like one size fits all diagnoses.
They were banning people off social media, shutting down anybody who brought it up. It was a weird time, and it still is weird. And I don't know.
But Random is brought to you by the audio marketing gurus at Radioactive Media, recently ranked number 20 on Inc. magazine's list of the fastest growing private companies in the field. Text random to 511-511. If you're 511, just go the game. What are you going to do? Be a farmer? Be a rancher?
Yeah, maybe. Well, so I'm not. I mean,
really?
It's not just about that. There's people who, they have livelihoods here. They've moved to the area, the Maryland, D.C. area. But it's, the conversation I've had with Allison is, I could stop doing the nightly show, which currently it's typically the second biggest live stream news. It's the biggest live stream news podcast. But Steven Crowder is bigger than us, but he's comedy news. If we want to look up together, we're number 2. And we both feel guilty about saying, stop doing this show with a massive audience so that we can go and have, like, we're rich, we can go do whatever we want. We can just go skiing whenever we want. We can fly to South America and go skiing any time of the year. We feel guilty about that. We both kind of agree on that.
It's so fucked up. Why do you feel guilty?
I don't know. I think it's like we were afforded this luxury and comfort.
Oh, for fuck's sake, get over it. Just enjoy it. You know, Christ, you could be that fucking in the hospital. You could be in the hospital with leukemia or some shit. You're lucky in some ways. You also worked for it, and this is your fate, and you have it. And trust me, you're not going anywhere. You know, you can go through these permutations in your mind, but at the end of the day, something on your shoulder is going to say, you know what, let's make hay while the sun shines, and then we can go skiing in South America. Because, like, you don't know how long it's going to last, popularity. You know, I mean, you know, the more you get, the more you have in the bank. It's good. I mean, if you really skyrocket to ultimate sort of fame, people never forget you. I mean, look at Britney Spears. She hasn't put out a record in 20 years, and people are still very interested. But
I think that's going away. You know, like, looking at everything you have, and you're talking about the Mets and all this stuff, I think because of there's 2 phenomena that I think are going to break this. One is the decentralization of media through the internet, but also the lack of new labels.
Break what?
Everybody wants to know what you think about things.
Good, thank you.
I don't, but it is true. I go to like some of these media reporting websites and entertainment websites, and it's not just that Trump did something; it's how you thought about it.
Oh, good.
It's you, Ann Coulter, and Joe Rogan almost always.
Interesting.
I don't know that we have that in 10 or 20 years. So I'll break it down entertainment-wise.
Really, you don't think there'll always be people who
not
other
like
humans would?
Not the way you guys are.
Yeah.
So Timcast IRL, we do maybe like 700,000 to 800,000 viewers per night, which is nothing compared to where Anderson Cooper was 20 years ago. It's decentralizing, it's changing. And so we have a big audience. People talk like, wow, you've got this really big show. And I'm like, yes, but there's 50 other shows now that are comparable.
And also, just to put it, okay, how many adults are there in America? About 280 million?
And Gen Alphas.
Okay, but I'm just saying, of all the adults who could be doing something, if it's 280 million and 700,000 to 800,000 are doing something, you know, that's compared to how many it could be. To your point, right? You know, like, I mean,
here's the thing.
TV shows used to get like a share, which is like the percentage of there's a rating and a share.
Yeah.
One is like the percentage of people who are doing anything. They could be watching TV, they could be masturbating, they could be playing tennis or ping pong, and the other is just a percentage of the people who are actually watching TV.
Yeah.
So a share is a smaller number because again, it's among the people who could be doing anything. And like TV shows sometimes used to get like a 40 share. 40. Like 40% of the country who could have been doing anything were watching the Wild Wild West. I mean, that is this is your point.
No,
like
exactly.
it's so much more bifurcated now.
So I'll give you an example. I was at a bar and I went to the jukebox and I put in Bohemian Rhapsody. And what happened? Everyone in the bar started singing. 100%.
Everybody knows that one.
The next song that came on, I didn't even know what it was. It was hip hop R&B. Everybody broke apart. And so back when we had very few radio stations and very few television channels, they had to be very selective about what they promoted, but they promoted to, you know, like you said, like 40 million people, who knows? So you had that time period. Now for us, I think that combined with the lack of new people. So Gen Alpha is about 40 million, and they're expecting that if we
what age are we talking about?
This is 0 to, I think, 13 years old.
So the one coming up.
Yeah, so Gen Z just finished, or Gen Z finished a while ago. I think it was like 2010 or something.
No.
2012. I think Gen Z ended.
Gen Z just began.
Gen Z is like 97 to 2012, I think. Yeah, Gen Alpha is 2013 to 2025.
Oh, okay, right. So we're going from when they're born.
Right.
Yeah, right. So we don't really count what they're thinking until they're at least a teenager.
So
they laughed at me when I tried that pink salt recipe I saw in a short video. But just 2 weeks later, they had no idea I was the same woman. Ladies, just head to your kitchen.
Gen Alpha is 40 million.
Right,
it's expected to be between 40
So millennials ended at the end. They're like from 1980 to
1996, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, 81 and 96. It depends on which chart you use.
Right.
But there were 80 million millennials, and there were actually, no, I'm sorry.
And that's you.
Yeah, 72 million millennials right now, 69 million Gen Z, 40 million Gen Alpha. So talking about share, if in 20 years we're looking at Gen Alpha and Gen Z, the dominant generations, there's substantially less of them to buy products, to buy tickets, to know who you are, and there's an increasing competition from decentralization of media. So I don't know how we end up with another Ann Coulter, Bill Maher, Joe Rogan personality, and like the Bohemian Rhapsody song. If I go to anybody in my town where I grew up with, they all watched your show. It's liberal Chicago, and everybody would put on Real Time, and Jon Stewart and things like that. If I asked anybody who was on a Daily Show right now, they'd say, I don't know, Jon Stewart. I'm like, one night a week, I think. And then who are the other people? No idea. I think Jordan Klepper is one of them. Don't know the rest. To be fair, they have more than one host now, but I think everybody is choosing media that represents them, like you brought up earlier, and it's easier than ever to get into. Then there's going to be less people. You're talking about, owning a piece of the Mets, and I'm like, I might have a big show, but I don't think I'll ever be able to afford owning a piece of the Mets or anything like that.
Well, I doubt if they're going to sell it again. I mean, it was a rare thing. It doesn't happen often in sports when a team sells a chunk of themselves. The Mets were in very bad shape in 2010, and they sold 40% of the team to a select group of investors. That doesn't happen. Billionaires sell the whole thing to each other. They don't sell little pieces of it. But the Mets were so fucked up that they were being sued by the Madoff survivors because they were the ownership of the Mets, and they were lovely people, but they were apparently very in with Bernie Madoff, and so they were. And again, this is the New York franchise. New York. This is baseball. There's nothing more Americana than that in New York, and yet they could not attract investors. I mean, when I got it, I was like, I can't believe that I got a piece of the Mets. Where are the hundreds of people richer than me?
What are you allowed to say? Like, what was the value that they put on the Mets? Not what you.
Absolutely, it was so undervalued. At the time, it was $750 million.
Wow.
Again, these aren't the Royals. No offense, Kansas City. This is the Mets, but that's how much they were shit on at the time. And it just shows the sheep mentality. Like, it got into people's heads. The Mets, there's a horrible toxic stink on them. Don't go near them. And I was like, oh, I'll go near them. Oh, I'll happily go near them. And again, I mean, when they sold, it was for like $2.5 billion. But even that's way underpriced now. I mean, the Celtics, I think, just sold for $6 billion. I mean, I said to myself, if there's one thing that always goes up, it's sports franchises. That's just a no loser. And then the pandemic came along and made it slightly more, still a winner, but it could have been so much of a bigger winner without the fucking pandemic. So you don't think I suffered?
Yeah.
We both suffered from the pandemic. You almost died. I lost money.
I don't know. I mean, I was sick, but with the age thing too. So I'm a skateboarder. I've been skateboarding my whole life.
I know you are.
Yeah, it's Tony Hawk's fault. He landed at 900, and then every millennial had to get a skateboard.
Yeah.
Now there's no skateboarders anymore.
Why?
No kids. Skateboarding. There's not enough so there's 40 million Gen Alpha. To be fair, like, it really is that skateboarders are, let's say this I'm saying this in a punk rock kind of way, degenerates. And so when they found themselves in the late 2000s being millionaires, what did they do? Nothing. They bought big houses, they partied, and now more than half of skateboarders are over the age of 30.
But that is the story of every generation as they get older.
But you need an industry. So like Hollywood, music and entertainment had an industry. Sure, the rock stars were nuts. The problem with skateboarding is the rock stars ran the business. So the core industries that made skateboarding big were also running the business, and here we are. And
but that is amazing to me.
Yeah.
That kids are not into it anymore.
Scooters. You know what I think? There's. So this is where we get into tariff stuff.
So there's none of that going down a flight of stairs.
There is.
and wrecking your body on an unforgiving pavement.
Yeah, you shouldn't get paid for it anymore.
You just
I think the top earner in skateboarding off of the sport alone was like $400,000 for the year, and then it immediately curls down to the top 10, made about 100.
Don't you think a lot of it is just every new generation has to shit on what the previous generation did and not do anything but that?
Well, maybe. The older skateboarders think that skateboarding comes and goes in waves and there's nothing you can do about it, but I don't believe that's true. It's an Olympic sport. You're going to have China. Well, actually, let me put it this way. I believe tariffs. I'm sorry, not tariffs, but free trade is one of the principal culprits for the decline in skateboarding. And the proof of that is that in Japan and China, skateboarding's never been bigger. So one of the biggest skateboard brands, probably the biggest, the premier, it's called the Barracks, shut down in LA, and it shocked everybody. And they're reopening in Japan, where we offshored all of our jobs in manufacturing and the industry to China. Now Southeast Asia has a massive booming skate culture. They even have a reality TV show, it's like Ninja Warrior, but for skateboards. In the United States, you got a bunch of 35-year-old men.
So how old do you think you'll be when you stop skateboarding?
Never.
Yeah, that's what I say about basketball. I mean, I always have. Look at my finger. That's a basketball injury.
Wow.
I don't give a shit. Yeah, rebounding. You know, when the ball hits there, it's fine. It'll get better. Yeah, jams.
That just happened?
Yeah, about a week ago.
Oh, wow.
You know,
that's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it. I played last night.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I do now when I play, I make sure I do a good 40-minute stretch before. I mean, I don't get out, and then, knee pads and all the things the pros wear shit on their ankles. You want all the support you can.
I got to stretch now, too.
What?
I got to stretch now, too.
Yeah, you know what? Trust me, bro. 40 is nothing. You're at a great point in your life. It's great to be 40, and look, you're killing it. That's really great. And apropos to your thing about feel guilty, don't. That's stupid. If you leave here with one piece of advice, don't do that. That's dumb. Don't give up.
That's the liberal in you.
Don't give up. That's not the liberal in me. That's the smart guy in me. Don't give up your fucking show. That's stupid too. Keep doing. At some point they might put you out to pasture. Don't put yourself out to pasture. I can name some people who did that to themselves in this business, who were like, "Oh, I'm going to walk away from this." Yeah, good luck. And nobody ever invites you to walk back. Yeah. When you have it. You have a good piece of real estate. Just take it. Let me tell you about Generation. There's a movie.
My social calendar forced me to rely on takeout. Factor helped me take control over what I'm eating and spending on takeout.
That actually was Johnny Carson's production company made. It was a big movie in 1983 called The Big Chill. And it was about how the hippies, the people who were like fucking hippie dippies in the late 60s when they were like 18, 19, 20, right? The flower power and free love and Woodstock. Okay, you got the general impression, right? All you need is love. Okay, so
Summer's that good, man.
Right. So then this movie takes place in currently, which was at the time 1983. So now these people who were hippies are early 30s, and it takes place. It's about these. Some guys, he lives in kind of remotely, just out in the exurbs I think it's North Carolina, and all the college friends are coming over, and so there's a lot of reunioning kind of thing. And when we were hippies, it was great. There's a scene where something happens, and a cop car comes up to the house, and the guy who's owns the house and is having all his college friends over, and he's just like, "Oh, thanks, nothing," but whatever it was, and Bob and goes, "Oh, thank you." And he goes back in the house, and his college friend is like, "Man, you were so nice to the pigs," and he's like, "Dude, I live here now, okay? Yeah. It's not like we're in college. I'm dug in." I think that was his line. I'm dug in here, Yeah. I have a family. I want the cop to be my friend. They're not all pigs anymore, okay? Grow the fuck up. And that's the great conflict of the movie. Is are we still hippies with all that ideology, some of which was good and some of which was stupid? Or are we just growing up? And you know what? That generation, who did they vote for in 1980? Ronald Reagan.
But I hear from you, it sounds like a mix a little bit of the understanding growing up and being responsible, but also the, come on, do your thing. I guess my question is do you have a preference for what the future of this country and world should be?
A preference? Yeah. I mean, peace and prosperity and democracy?
Because I feel like you're with politics, you're very in it. And there's a reason you, I, or anybody else wants to be involved in the goings on of the world is because we want things to be done better.
Right, correct.
Yeah. So I wonder, when I say things about being guilty, it's if I have this platform that is influential and I can, like you said, people will listen to me and I can say, hey, I think this is a good way to do things and that can make the world that way. That's why I feel guilty of walking away from that opportunity. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's great too. I mean, that's a great motivation. I mean, that's the best motivation. I mean, I never try to fool myself to think that what I'm doing is so noble that it's not really, because it's doing what I want to do. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. I'm so glad that it does things for other people. And if you ask me what is the great joy of my life, I would sum it up by saying, there's this thing that I can do that enough people feel like I'm the only one who can kind of do that for them. I'm the only one who can kind of scratch that itch. You know what I mean? And every week I'm like, they want me to do this thing for them, and I love being able to give them that gift. I'm going to do this. I'm going to interpret the news in a way that is just different than anybody else does. And it does the thing for you. And I love that connection. I give you this gift, and you appreciate it. And that really is that's the relationship of my life.
You're obviously an atheist.
Yes.
Famously religious. Yes. I saw it when you put it out. And
good, thank you.
I know. I was last Catholic, briefly atheist. Now I'm not Christian. I don't like the word deist. But the future, we're seeing this massive push towards Christianity and young people.
Yes. What do you make of that?
Well, one thing I think is true is that conservatives had more kids in the 2000s. I know a lot of people want to claim these ideological victories where they say we've read good people, and I've pointed this out for years. No, just in 2003, there were a couple studies that came out saying that liberals were having less kids than conservatives. Well, 20 years later, what do you expect to see? There's going to be more conservative people than liberal people just because the parents had kids.
Right.
I do think also that one of the more interesting trends, however, is that among Gen Z, irrespective of that, there's been a rightward ideological shift among men. And I think this has to do with contemporary politics, movies, games, culture, etc.
And also men feeling that they were targeted unfairly. There is a lot of toxicity in being maleness. Some of that we can't control. Some of that is just how we're born. We were drawn that way. You know, boys are going to be more rambunctious in school. They're going to be harder to discipline. Yeah. They're going to have more excess energy. And we kind of we went like we do with everything, went overboard and made it seem sometimes like maleness itself was on trial.
It was like a race to the bottom.
So it's not what?
It was a race to the bottom of all these different cultural elements trying to one up what was wrong with masculinity.
Yeah, kind of. So it's not surprising that they would run to Trump.
Yeah.
They would run to the guy. I mean, it's kind of like, why do cops vote for Trump? Well, the guy who's like out there saying they're not the enemy, and they're not. I mean, there are things that obviously should be criticized about the police too, which Trump would never do, because he's always all in on one way. But I can totally understand if you're a cop, you feel very misunderstood, and you are, and you understand that you do something that the society needs, and they don't seem very grateful about it.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, so it's kind of similar to that.
People, man, there's one prominent cop. I think this is Donut Operator. I could be wrong, so forgive me if I'm getting the guy wrong. But he was a cop, and I could be getting the guy wrong. But the thing that these cops deal with that people don't understand is they see these negative stories in the press all the time. And yeah, this bad cop doing a bad thing, let's lock him up, let's put him in jail. But my dad was a firefighter, and he told me when I was younger, he's like, never be a cop because the things these guys deal with,
Yeah.
One day, like you're getting a phone call about a domestic violence incident. You show up and some guy screaming in your face, spitting on you, swinging at you, and then you go and see a mother holding her dead son who got hit by a car in one day. And then these people are just, they deal with this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And then what happens is they go to a store where there's some minor altercation and they're not having it. And these people, these cops are assholes, man. And it's like, that man just watched a child die and the mother scream, and now you're bothering him over some like petty BS at a supermarket.
Right.
So it is pretty brutal. But then I do think, I say this somewhat facetiously, ban the internet, get rid of social media, because it puts people in these bubbles where they only see the bad thing. And I think it's making people go crazy. So we're talking about the younger generation, right? Here's one real interesting phenomenon in the political polarization. In the end of the 2000s on Facebook, the top content was police brutality. And there was one website that was one of the top global websites that only made articles about police brutality. Why? Hit all the other algorithmic points. Shock content, justice, anger. And so imagine you're 10 years old in 2010, and you go on Facebook. Maybe you're not supposed to, but you do. What do you find? BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, Mike.com, and they're blasting you with nothing but black man killed, unarmed black man killed. The reason they were doing this was Facebook found that after around 300 friends or likes, the chronological feed becomes incomprehensible. And they wanted to make sure that people stayed on the page longer, so they created the algorithm. That's why if you post, I'm getting married, having a baby, you will appear on the top of everyone's feeds. It's true, yeah, it works.
Yeah.
At the time, they didn't do this intentionally, but they created an algorithm that if it got shared more, it got promoted more. And so what happened was, first, these websites like Huffington Post found that an article that said something like racist thing happens would get more shares, so they made more of it. Eventually, a great example is Mike.com, M-I-C. It started as a Ron Paul libertarian freedom website. It was trending on the internet in 2008. And then it turned into social justice, intersectional feminism, and police brutality, because that was generating most of the shares on Facebook. So these younger kids who are 10 or whatever are inundated with nothing but this. What happens? There's this famous video where a guy goes to Venice Beach and he asks people, how many unarmed black men do you think were killed by police last year? And they say 1,000, 10,000. It was 9.
I know.
And it's because the media, or I should say social media, was propping up select stories over and over and over again. And where it gets crazy is even the same story every week.
But let's look at what's behind that. What's behind that?
ED has affected my confidence. I found hymns. The app is easy.
What it is white guilt. There's a certain segment of the left that feels very bad about the horrible racist history of our country, which they themselves probably participated not at all in.
Yeah.
And they are just constantly doing things that they think are for someone else, but I think are for themselves.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of self-flagellating themselves about the racial issue, which, of course, the history is appalling, and the present has problems, too, racially in this country. Yeah. But they make it worse. Let's put it just in general. They make it worse, and it's really about how it's not about actually making any black lives better. Actually, that doesn't really happen from all their hyperventilating. It makes them feel a certain way. It makes them that's what people have to realize about that.
Have you followed any of the Chicago stuff with Mayor
Brandon Joseph?
You want to know what's really fascinating about that?
He's worse than the last one.
Oh, he's terrible. But you know how he won? White guilt.
Yes, I understand.
Well, wait, it's good. So I actually took the electoral map of vote breakdown by neighborhood, overlaid it with the racial breakdown per neighborhood, and what do we find? Every black neighborhood, their top 3 candidates were black. Even people who weren't frontrunners or polling anywhere near didn't matter. The black neighborhoods did not vote for any white guy or Latinos. The Latino neighborhood, guess what? Latino guys. The white neighborhoods, white guys. Except for one. The college liberal area of Loyola.
Sure.
They voted for Johnson.
Yeah.
And so even though Johnson
took the election.
That tipped it. Yeah. And so people thought there was this white dude that all of the suburbanites were going to vote for. Not the suburbanites, but it's Chicago, so it's not suburban. But like the outskirts in the Northwest. And he did really well. But when Loyola college liberals was the one area where it was predominantly white that voted for the black candidate, put it over the edge, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
I'm real mad.
Living here in California, trust me, the concept of liberal in theory. This is something I say very often. People who are liberals in theory, and then you see how they live, like terrible to the household help.
Yeah.
Like consider their assistants, because everyone out here has to have an assistant. They can't do anything for themselves. I mean, I do too, but I never call my assistant on the weekend or after hours. Most people here consider their assistant a 24/7 slave. That's what I mean about liberal in theory. Yeah, in theory, you're a liberal, but like, how do you actually live your life? And of course, like very privilegey, and they absolutely hate privilege, but their whole life is sustained by the privilege of not having to be practical or knowledgeable about a lot of things, which they pontificate on and act like they're knowledgeable about, and also just like many homes, like expensive vacations. I mean, it's not like they are, if you really feel that bad about it, switch houses with someone in Compton. Let them live here in your house, and you could live in their house, and then you'll feel better.
This is a part of what I call wokeness. Everybody's always trying to define it some way.
Right.
But I define it specifically as cult-like adherence to the liberal orthodoxy. And the reason why I say that is because being in media and cultural spaces for the past 15 years watching all of this, the conservatives like to say it's DEI, it's race, but that doesn't explain support for certain institutions, support for war in Ukraine, doesn't explain the Me Too movement. These are all different things. It doesn't explain support for Islam particularly, which is the second biggest religion in the world. So it's not about critical theory or anything like that. It's about looking like you're virtuous. So these liberals who live the way you're describing it want to make sure that as they're seen outwardly to other liberals, they are perfectly in line with what is virtuous and right. We call it virtue signaling. But it can manifest into literally anything. Like, again, supporting the second largest religion in the world while claiming that they're oppressed, but massive.
Well, I mean, there's so much to get into here. One is the word liberal, very fraught for me because I still think I'm a liberal. I think woke is a different thing.
I agree, yeah.
I mean, but your example about Islam is completely right, and it's one of the main reasons why the far left started to really hate me is because I call out Islam as what it is, extremely illiberal. That's what's so ironic about liberals being so supportive of Hamas is because you're liberals, and these are the people, I'm sorry, but this ideology, Islam, even in its more benign forms, yes, I agree. The vast majority of Muslims, not terrorists, of course, but Islamists, which is the word we use to describe people who are not terrorists, but kind of agree with the things terrorists are doing and are for, that's a much higher number. That's many millions of people. And even the rank and file, I mean, most Muslim societies live under some form of Sharia law, which no Westerner who thinks that Hamas is so great could ever live under. Your fundamental rights that you take for granted here in America, you would not have. I mean, all the protesters who are protesting in Gaza against Hamas, they've all been killed. Right. They killed protesters. Women, I mean, do I have to say anything more than just if it was just that issue, how women are treated? Are you fucking kidding me?
And the narrative is, when I talk to some of these academics, like the anti-woke people, they're like, well, it's because they say that, Gaza is oppressed. And I'm like, sure, but they're siding with the second biggest religion in the world, which is authoritarian, fundamentalist. And like, I don't care if you practice whatever religion you want to practice, it's fine. But it's strange to me to claim that Islam is oppressed in any meaningful way.
Well, I do care what you practice, and I probably defend to the death your right to practice whatever religion you want. Just don't lie to me and say all religions are alike. All religions are not alike, and what makes them different mostly is how fundamentalist they are.
Yeah.
Fundamentalist means you actually believe what's in the Holy Book. I mean, there's the Quran, there's the Bible, and they're both full of nonsense. but we have learned to wink at the Bible in the West, whereas Islam, to a much greater extent, takes it very seriously. I mean, we do not have things like madrasas here, where they send kids to school and they just learn that one book. That they are not studying anything else in a madrasa. That's the meaning of it.
Yeah.
And of course, they're segregated completely sexually. So, I mean, what's going to be the upshot of that?
It's like a Handmaid's Tale, right?
It's worse.
Yeah.
I think. But,
yeah, you know, and I'm not Christian, and I have a lot of friends who are, and I don't care.
But what are you? You said you were going on this before. You were like, I'm not a deist. I'm not
well,
a
that's
this.
the thing, like,
but you're not an atheist anymore.
No,
so what do you believe?
I don't think God exists. I don't believe in any scriptures or anything like that. I think man is fallible, and to write down books and then claims the word of God is silly.
So how long were you an atheist, and what did we do wrong not to keep you?
I went to Catholic school.
Last warning, if you did not claim your funeral benefit, pay close attention before you miss out on this.
And
well,
there you go.
I went to catechism.
Well, I didn't do that. At 5th grade, I left. And so what happened for me in Catholic school was they taught me nothing. They showed me a video of Adam riding a brontosaurus. I'm not joking.
I went to the museum in Religulous where they have the exhibit of Jesus on the brontosaurus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they told us that the dinosaurs were too big to fit on the ark, and the unicorns were too rambunctious. Not kidding. So the unicorns were dancing and ran away from the ark, and I'm like, so I remember.
Oh, that's why they didn't survive.
That's right.
I see.
One formative moment was when
Trump pardoned tax cheat after mother attended $1 million dinner. So here we go. As if we didn't already know, you can buy a pardon with Trump. Also, you can do anything that you want illegal for the benefit of Trump, and you'll be pardoned. I don't get it. Isn't that a reason to put him in jail for the rest of his life? I mean, that alone, he should be in jail forever. I mean, he is such an evil, horrible, awful human being. I don't get it. I don't understand this. Scotty, can you explain this to me in quiet, lucid tone?
No, but he did pardon a cop or a sheriff who was giving out badges illegally for money.
Yeah.
Sack him. Yeah, no, I can't make sense of it.
Yeah, he's completely unhinged and lawless. There is no law that can contain him, and he is purposely testing every law. So he will break every single law, and he's so far been getting away with it. And it's astounding. It's, you know, and then you hear like the other side saying, well, you know, why are you so surprised? He's just doing what he said he would do. No. We all thought that people who break the law go to jail. That is our basic assumption. If you don't have that, I mean, that's a...
They kicked me. Thank God.
I asked my 5th grade teacher.
Can't argue with logic.
All right. So the Big Bang we were learning it, 5th grade science.
Really? Good for you.
At Catholic school. And I asked my teacher if the universe was in a single point and then expanded outward, is it possible that, I raised my hand and asked this, is it possible that at some point it stops and then comes back in? And she went, I don't know, moving on. And I was furious.
Why? Who does know that? No one.
It's called the Big Crunch Theory. And it was dismissed 100 years ago. So what pissed me off was, reflecting upon it, I genuinely wanted to know what they were trying to teach. And they couldn't teach me anything. So what did I do? I went over to the internet and read to myself. And so immediately I'm like, fake. They have no idea what they're talking about. The religion is BS. I'm done. And so it wasn't like I was in 5th grade, I was 9 years old. But this is when I was like probably around 12 or 13 is when I was like, this is stupid. What are they even talking about? And like shellfish you can't eat, but they're eating it. These people don't follow this stuff.
Well,
but that's scripture. That's not God. And so what happened was I read about negative entropy, and it discusses I'm trying to simplify as much as I can. Everything tends towards entropy.
Entropy being randomness. everything tends toward randomness.
To a certain degree, but at some point it will become uniformity in the heat of the universe.
The way it was described to me when I took physics for poets at Cornell University was like if after 6 months you don't reorganize your sock drawer, it's a mess. That's entropy. And that happens in the universe.
An egg breaking?
Everything happens toward randomness, and it's true. Like, you have to, in your own life, you have to constantly be retarding entropy, or else your life is a mess. And some people can live in a mess and clutter, and they like it. But that desk, that we've all seen, where the tuna fish sandwich is under like 3 piles of
Yo, Manfinity.
From 2.
Manfinity, are you available to speak? How are you, sir?
How are you? I'm well. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm listening to Tim Pool and Bill Maher, but I was just in the room called Deep State Patriots, where every Trump is a lawbreaker, a liar, a fraud, a scammer, the worst of the worst. And so I'm trying to record their room to basically like expose their propaganda hypnosis. I don't know if you're available to go in that room and rebuke them, but it'd be a good opportunity.
I would love to. Can you show me how to get to it?
I'm trying to find it, but they have me blocked on all of my accounts. I have like 5 accounts, and
can you remind me who you are? I feel like I know you, but I can't remember you.
I'm just a clown house user like you, fighting these ruthless liars and bullshit artists.
Did we have any interactions in the past that you recall, or just
No, nothing. Just like chilling and fighting back against.
So I was just at my nephew's swearing in ceremony for an attorney, and here's a woman walking down the street with a big old black button that says "Fuck Trump." I said, "Oh, can I take a picture with you? You're my hero." We took a picture together. I was like, "Oh my god, this woman's so deranged."
Did you take the selfie?
Someone took the picture for us. I have it. Yes.
Oh my god.
She said, "On the 15th, we have to band together. The monster is." Oh my! Would you go somewhere, please?
You gotta put that as your PTR, dude. That's hilarious.
Hold on one second. I'm in the car.
Weeks ago, that some people live in that. I can't. I have to always retard entropy.
But so that is negative entropy, which can only exist.
Yeah. What is negative entropy?
Exactly what you described.
Oh, fixing it.
Yeah. But that can only exist within a greater system of entropy. And so I'm reading this, and I started reading about how matter coalesces. Hydrogen becomes helium. It fuses the greater elements and things like that. The elements become compounds. Chemical compounds, becomes single cellular life, becomes multicellular organisms. I kind of view it like on top of that.
You can order almost anything off of the internet these days, so why aren't you doing the same with your contact lenses? Seriously, I remember
fire.
Yo, Ben, I don't know if you can go in the hallway and try to find this room. Not Ben, I mean Manfinity. His name is Ben Mendelsohn, and he's just so fucking retarded. I mean, if you can find that room in the hallway, it's called Deep State Patriots. But I'm also, Jeremy is here. Jeremy, can you, I don't know, let me try to invite you again, Manfinity. But I would love for you to be a guest on my podcast, if you're available to speak for 30 minutes to talk about your experience, being like a social audio communicator. On Clownhouse. Yeah, I don't know. I can't invite you up for some reason. It says user has already. I don't know. You might have to try to leave the room and come back. But yeah, I mean, we can do a room. We can just do it right on Clownhouse. We can just do the podcast on Clownhouse. But let me just recreate this room, Manfinity, or go to my other room. It's called Ben Deep State Patriots with Comedy. So look for the room in the hallway, but we're gonna do a quick little 30-minute Q&A. Okay, it's mostly all about communication. I'll talk to you in a minute. Okay, this is Ben, Deep State Patriots stream. We're trying to psyop them. Dr. Australia, welcome. I'm Infinity, welcome back. I'm inviting people to the room. This is kind of a psyop room because I would like to live stream their room into this room, but I do want to talk to you about your experience here on Clown House because you've been here for, quite a while, and you've had many conversations with many big room creators about a whole variety of never-ending topics. How do you describe your experience on this app and all the time you've put into communicating with people here?
Wow, putting me in the interviewee chair. Okay, my experience off the cuff has been, for me, it's been an outlet for me because I used to get into it with people in my life, in my real life, about politics. So this is a great escape for me. I don't have to get into it with people in my personal life. I come on here, it's been an outlet to express myself. It's been an outlet to engage with the other side. And it's been a learning experience. I put it under the category of a learning experience. I learned the depth of derangement that exists in the world of, hate Trump.
How do you view people that use Trump as like a scapegoat for negative, linguistic programming?
I think there's a range there. There's people who just have bought whole line and sinker the idea that Trump is a monster. But then there's some people who are know what they're doing. They're aware that he's a crusader against everything that this country stands for or against, and they're just trying to muzzle him because they know that he's waking people up. So it ranges. There's some people, I view some people as just sheep. They don't know any better. They believe the headlines, and they're just honest people who just want to gain an understanding of what's happening around them, and they're being manipulated and lied to by the powers that be. So those people, and I can get a sense of who I'm speaking to once I engage. There's been people who literally just believe the lies they've been told. And for those people, there's a level of empathy there, but they still should be held accountable. But then there are Trump as a threat to their, social ideology. And so it ranges. Some people know what's happening and some people don't.
What do you think your biggest contribution has been in terms of your communication? Because you seem to have great dialogue with people where people, appreciate you because you provide a contrarian view. But you've also, have you experienced a lot of like intense kickback because you're reversing their political propaganda?
Intense, absolutely intense. Just the other day, I was in a room where I felt like I'm getting kicked and punched digitally. Because first off, I realized they don't really have to contend with this opposition. They only contend with, I don't know what, they just make up what they think the other side is about. But when I come in and I kind of express what the other side is saying, and I say, look, it's this way, and this is what they're saying, and what you're doing, you're leaving this out, contend with these things, they just frazzle, they glitch, they get upset, and they overreact, and I experience intense and
I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you. I think you're in the cellular matrix.
I'm being met with vicious resentment, and people are rude and disrespectful. I will throw a bar back like anybody's business. But
again, were derived from plants. They're taking segments
of a level of respect, at least at the outset, until they go low. And when they go low, I go to the Earth's crust.
So if we were to make you the president of the United States today, right now, and you were in charge of the whole American system, what three things would you do for we the people?
I'm sorry, if I were the president, what are the three things I would do to restore order? Is that what you said?
No, what are the three things you would do for we the people?
Well, I like what the board, bring order to the border. Immigration chaos must be dealt with in a real way. The economy, I would open up the markets, allow for better working environments, job creation, that kind of thing. And I like the idea of standing up to the wokeists, the propagandists, the people who are ending gendered language and, you know, pushing to the extreme of political correctness. I would stand 10 toes against that. And I would add returning to our roots of Christianity, because that's important. Recognizing that we are a nation founded on biblical principles, and I would restore a biblical, somewhat, to the extent that I can, I would help to restore a biblical worldview in our country and promote it to the high heavens. Not enforce it, not impose it, but promote biblical worldviews up and down agencies while not imposing.
Let's talk about the Jews all day long and waste our time with spam. What a bunch of fucking losers.
Okay, this is the Ben Mendelsohn Deep State Patriots Restream Room. I want to thank you for being here. We just pranked JQ Radio on X. So, I don't know. Should we finish the Bill Maher podcast? That was Clubhouse user here.
We know it exists, we can make it. And what is fire? It's the releasing of energy from, carbon and oxygen slammed together, and the energy gets released. And the energy was stored from solar energy, which we view as some type of fire. It's fusion, which we're watching in the sky, but works similarly, right? And so then my thought was, consciousness exists, at least I can say for myself because I experience it. But if consciousness is a component that exists within the universe, mathematically, like in the code of the universe, same as fire, is there probability of a higher form of consciousness? Yes, completely. Just like fire can be, a forest fire can be a star, or even a gigantic supermassive black hole. Consciousness exists in the universe as a component of the universe. Thus, the universe experiences consciousness. So I wonder if God then is not scripture-based, but that there is something beyond our singular consciousness. You get where I'm trying to go with that?
I think it's really deep for a redneck.
I'm from Chicago. What can I say?
Just fucking with you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like
This guy I know that has two sons. One of the sons is trans, and I commented, God bless you and your sons. I wonder if he's gonna correct my pronoun.
The way everybody takes their shot at talking themselves into what they just really want to believe, and I totally respect that. No, I mean it's a lot easier and probably healthier to have that in your back pocket, to think, oh, and I just don't.
I'm not saying,
but I don't know. But I don't say it's not. You know what? That people have this thing that atheists are dogmatic. No, we're just saying we don't know, and quite frankly, we don't really care because we don't think we're ever going to really know or be able to know. So we just kind of put it out of our heads. But we don't think it's obviously the myths that have come down to us from.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to say that there's a being watching over us and dictating.
No, of course it's not. It couldn't. I mean,
it's more like the logic that is the universe is the Einsteinian God, they call it. viewing, our human experience and our emotions are unique to us.
I mean, I've said this before, but the idea that, and I'm sure the Big Bang Theory is correct, or I guess it is. I mean, again, talking about going on faith. I just think Neil deGrasse Tyson seems smarter than my pastor when I was a kid. My priest is, and so but the idea that all of matter in the universe, which is just, I can't even go into how big it is.
Today, I'm going to show you the pink salt trick that even celebrities and actresses are keeping secret. This is the real secret to...
Was just fit into something like tiny, and just explode. Like, first of all, why do it that way? It just seems silly.
I think it's wrong.
And you don't believe in the Big Bang Theory?
No.
What about the show?
The show was terrible. I take the laugh track. It didn't work. But let me elaborate. Science is wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think the Big Bang is what we know so far.
Right.
But there's already theories about the Big Bang may have been what's called a white hole. Are you familiar with that?
No.
The other side of a black hole. And so string theory, unified M theory, I don't really follow the stuff as much as I was 20 years ago. But one idea is that the universe is a 12-dimensional structure. And basically what happened with our universe is someone took a piece of rubber, pinched it, and then blew. It's expanding as matter is pouring into it, but that's just one balloon of the universe being blown up in a much larger universe of multiple dimensions. I really don't know,
Well, I just got word from the Huffington Post, we need to capitalize black hole, but not white hole.
Because one is socially acceptable.
All right. Well, I'm so glad I got to know you.
I really do appreciate you having me.
Yeah. I hope you had a good time.
I know everyone's going to...
Wait.
They're going to yell at me saying, why were you yelling at Bill Maher? I'm like,
I was just going to say, that's what I love about this show is there's some yelling because we're human. And of course we're not going to be that, but it doesn't get in the way of being pals.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
My friends are super excited.
I was thrilled you wanted to do it.
Okay, that's Bill Maher and Tim Pool. A love fest. All Bill Maher podcasts ultimately become love fests. So he also had Tony Hinchcliffe on 2 weeks ago. That's an hour and 47 minutes. That'd be an interesting one to play.
Z-Biotics when you want to make this 50 crowd work on you. No, come on. I'm some crowd work. Ask me where I'm from. Where are you from? New Jersey. Come on. There's a slow pitch down the middle of the plate, bro. New Jersey? That is a shithole. Indeed. Well, come on, you could do better than a shithole, isn't that where you're from? I like to feel the people and know them a little bit better than just straight up. Ask me what I do. And then I say nothing, and you say, how do you know when you're...
Sincere words are not sweet. Good men are not argumentative. The argumentative are not good. The wise are not erudite. The erudite are not wise. The sage does not take to hoarding. The more he lives for others, the fuller is his life. The more he gives, the more he abounds. The way of heaven is to benefit, not to harm. The way of the sage is to do his duty, not to strive with anyone. For a small country with a small population, though there are highly efficient mechanical contrivances, the people have no use for them. Let them mind death and refrain from migrating to distant places. Boats and carriages, weapons and armor there may still be, but there are no occasions for using or displaying them. Your people revert to communication by nodding accord. See to it that they are contented with their food, pleased with their clothing, satisfied with their houses, and in no sincere words are not sweet. Good men are not arguing. Nothing in the world is softer and weaker than water. But for attacking the hard and strong, there is nothing like it, for nothing can take its place. At the weak overcomes the strong, and the soft overcomes the hard. This is something known by all, but practiced by none. Therefore the sage says, to receive the dirt of a country is to be the lord of its soil shrines. To bear the calamities of a country is to be the prince of the world. Indeed, truth sounds like its opposite. When a great wound is healed, there will still remain a scar. Can this be a desirable state of affairs? Therefore the sage, holding the left hand tally, performs as part of the covenant, but lays no claims upon others. The virtuous attends to his duties. The virtuous knows only to levy duties upon the people. The way of nothing in the world is softer and weaker than water. But for attacking the hard and strong, there is nothing like it, for nothing can take its place. At the weak overcomes the strong, and the soft overcomes the hard. This is something known by all, but practiced by none. Therefore the sage says, to receive the dirt of a country is to be the lord of its soil shrines. To bear the calamities of a country is to be the prince of the world. Indeed, truth sounds like its opposite. When a great wound is healed, there will still remain a scar. Can this be a desirable state of affairs? Therefore the sage, holding the left hand tally, performs as part of the covenant, but lays no claims upon others. The virtuous attends to his duties. The virtuous knows only to levy duties upon the people. The way of nothing in the world is softer and weaker than water. But people no longer fear your power. It is a sign that a greater power is coming. Interfere not lightly with their dwelling, nor lay heavy burdens upon the livelihood. Only when you cease to weary them, they will cease to be wearied of you. Therefore the sage knows himself, but makes no show of himself, loves himself, but does not exalt himself. He prefers what is within to what is without. When the people no longer fear your power, it is a sign that a greater power is coming. Interfere not lightly with their dwelling, nor lay heavy burdens upon their livelihood. Only when you cease to weary them, they will cease to be wearied of you. Therefore the sage knows himself, but makes no show of himself, loves himself, but does not exalt himself. He prefers what is within to what is without. People no longer fear your power. It is a sign that a greater power is coming. Interfere not lightly with have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes, while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand, and very easy to practice. But the world cannot understand them, nor practice them. My words have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice, but the world cannot understand them. No, have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes, while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice, but the world cannot understand them nor practice them. My words have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice, but the world cannot understand them. No, have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes, while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice, but the world cannot understand them nor practice them. My words have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice, but the world cannot understand them. No, have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes, while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice, but the world cannot understand them nor practice them. My words have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice, but the world cannot understand them. No, have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes, while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice, but the world cannot understand them nor practice them. My words have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge of me. The fewer persons know me, the nobler are they that follow me. Therefore the sage wears coarse clothes while keeping the jade in his bosom. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice, but the world cannot understand them. No, have an ancestor, my deeds have a lord. The people have no knowledge of this, therefore they have no knowledge. Is when the sage stands above the people, they do not feel the heaviness of his weight, and when he stands in front of the people, they do not feel hurt. Therefore all the world is glad to push him forward without getting tired of him. Just because he strives with nobody, nobody can ever strive with him. All the world says that my Tao is great, but seems queer, like nothing on earth. But it is just because my Tao is great that it is like nothing on earth. If it were like anything on earth, how small it would have been from the very beginning. I have three treasures, which I hold fast and watch over closely. My first is mercy. The second is frugality. The third is not daring to be first in the world. Because I am merciful, therefore I can be brave. Because I am frugal, therefore I can be generous. Because I dare not be first, therefore I can be the chief of all vassals. If a man wants to be brave without first being merciful, generous without is when the sage stands above the people, they do not feel the heaviness of his weight. And when he stands in front of the people, they do not feel hurt. Therefore all the world is glad to push him forward without getting tired of him. Just because he strives with nobody, nobody can ever strive with him. All the world says that my Tao is great, but seems queer, like nothing on earth. But it is just because my Tao is great that it is like nothing on earth. If it were like anything on earth, how small it would have been from the very beginning. I have three treasures, which I hold fast and watch over closely. My first is mercy. The second is frugality. The third is not daring to be first in the world. Because I am merciful, therefore I can be brave. Because I am frugal, therefore I can be generous. Because I dare not be first, therefore I can be the chief of all vassals. If a man wants to be brave without first being merciful, generous without is when the sage stands above the people, they do not strive for the effortless, savor the savorless, exalt the low, multiply the few, requite injury with kindness, nip troubles in the bud, sow the great in the small. Difficult things of the world can only be tackled when they are easy. Big things of the world can only be achieved by attending to the small beginnings. Thus, the sage never has to grapple with big things, yet he alone is capable of achieving them. He who promises lightly must be lacking in faith. He who thinks everything easy will end by finding everything difficult. Therefore, the sage who regards everything as difficult meets with no difficulties in the end. What is at rest is easy to hold. What manifests no omens is easy forestalled. What is fragile is easily shattered. What is small is easily scattered. Tackle things before they do. Strive for the effortless. Savor the savorless. Exalt the low. Multiply the few. Requite injury with kindness. Nip troubles in the bud. Sow the great in the small. Difficult things of the world can only be tackled when they are easy. Big things of the world can only be achieved by attending to the small beginnings. Thus, the sage never has to grapple with big things, yet he alone is capable of achieving them. He who promises lightly must be lacking in faith. He who thinks everything easy will end by finding everything difficult. Therefore, the sage who regards everything as difficult meets with no difficulties in the end. What is at rest is easy to hold. What manifests no omens is easy forestalled. What is fragile is easily shattered. What is small is easily scattered. Tackle things before they do. Strive for the eternal way. Your descendants will carry on the ancestral sacrifice for generations without end. Cultivate virtue in your own person, and it becomes a genuine part of you. Cultivate it in the family and it will abide. Cultivate it in the community and it will live and grow. Cultivate it in the state and it will flourish abundantly. Cultivate it in the world and it will become universal. Hence a person must be judged as person. Family is family. Community is community. A state is state. The world is world. How do I know about the world?
The bell's for you, little pumpkin.
One who is steeped in virtue is akin to the
Tommy Robinson is free.
Wasps and poisonous serpents do not sting it. No fierce beast seize it. No birds of prey maul it. Its bones are tender, its sinews soft, but its grip is firm. It is not known the union of the male and the female, growing in its wholeness and keeping its vitality and perfect death. The companions of life are 13. The companions of death are 13. And when a living person moves into the realm of death, his companions are also 13. How is this? Because he draws upon the resources of life too heavily. It is said that he who knows well how to live meets no tigers or wild buffaloes on his road, comes out from the battleground untouched by the weapons of war. For in him a buffalo would find no butt for his horns, a tiger nothing to lay his claws upon, and a weapon of war no place to admit its point. How is this? Because there is no room for death in him. Thou gives them life, virtue nurses them, matter shapes them, environment perfects them. Therefore all things without exception worship Tao and do homage to virtue. They have not been commanded to worship Tao and do homage to virtue, but they always do so spontaneously. No, block all the passages, shut all the doors. blunt all the edges, untie all tangles, harmonize all lights, unite the world into one whole. This is called the mystical whole, which you cannot court after nor shun, benefit nor harm, honor nor humble, therefore it is the highest of the world. You govern a kingdom by normal rules, you fight a war by exceptional moves, but you win the world by letting alone. How do I know that this is so? By what is within me. The more taboos and inhibitions that are in the world, the poorer the people become. The sharper the weapons the people possess, the greater confusion reigns in the realm, the more clever and crafty the men. The oftener strange things happen, the more articulate the laws and ordinances, the more robbers and thieves arise. No, block all the passages, shut all the doors, blunt all the edges. And one is out of life, one is in death. The companions of life are 13, the companions of death are 13. And when a living person moves into the realm of death, his companions are also 13. How is this? Because he draws upon the resources of life too heavily. It is said that he who knows well how to live meets no tigers or wild buffaloes on his road, and comes out from the battleground untouched by the weapons of war. For in him a buffalo would find no butt for his horns, a tiger nothing to lay his claws upon, and a weapon of war no place to admit its point. How is this? Because there is no room for death in him. Tao gives them life, virtue nurses them, matter shapes them, environment perfects them. Therefore all things without exception worship Tao and do homage to virtue. They have not been commanded. And one is out of life, one is in death. The companions of life are 13, the companions of death are 13. And when a living person moves into the realm of death, truly one may gain by losing, one may lose by gaining. What another is taught, let me repeat. A man of violence will come to a violent end. Whoever said this can be my teacher and my father. The softest of all things overrides the hardest of all things. Only nothing can enter into no space, hence I know the advantages of non-ado. Few things under heaven are as instructive as the lessons of silence, or as beneficial as the fruits of non-ado. As for your name and your body, which is the dearer? As for your body and your wealth, which is the more to be prized? As for gain and loss, which is the more painful? Thus, an excessive love for anything will cost you dear in the end. The storing up of too much goods would entail a heavy loss. To know when you have enough is truly one may. High virtue is non-virtuous, therefore it has virtue. Low virtue never frees itself from virtuousness, therefore it has no virtue. High virtue makes no fuss and has no private ends to serve. Low virtue not only fusses but has private ends to serve. High humanity fusses but has no private ends to serve. High morality not only fusses but has private ends to serve. High ceremony fusses but finds no response, then it tries to enforce itself with rolled up sleeves. Failing Tao, man resorts to virtue. Failing virtue, man resorts to humanity. Failing humanity, man resorts to morality. Failing morality, man resorts to ceremony. Now ceremony is the bitterness husk of faith and loyalty. It is the beginning of all confusion and disorder. As to foreknowledge, it is only the flower of Tao. High virtue is nameless, small as it is in its primal simplicity. It is inferior to nothing in the world. If only a ruler could cling to it, everything would render homage to him. Heaven and earth would be harmonized and send down sweet dew. Peace and order will reign among the people without any command from above. When once the primal simplicity diversified, different names appeared. Are there not enough names now? Is this not the time to stop? To know when to stop is to preserve ourselves from danger. The Tao is to the world what a Greek river or an ocean is to the streams and brooks. He who knows men is clever, he who knows himself has insight, he who conquers men has force, he who conquers himself is truly strong, he who knows when he has got enough is rich, and is nameless. Small as it is in its primal simplicity, it is inferior to nothing in the world. If only a ruler could cling to it, everything would render homage to him, heaven and earth would be harmonized, and send down sweet dew. Peace and order will reign among the people without any command from above. When once the primal simplicity diversified, different names appeared. Are there not enough names now? Is this not the time to stop? To know when to stop is to preserve ourselves from danger. The Tao is to the world what a Greek river or an ocean is to the streams and brooks. He who knows men is clever, he who knows himself has insight, he who conquers men has force, he who conquers himself is truly strong, he who knows when he has got enough is rich, and is nameless. Small as it is in its primal simplicity, it is inferior to nothing in the world. If only a ruler could cling to it, everything would render homage to him, heaven and earth would be harmonized, and send down sweet dew. Peace and order will reign among the people without any command from above. When once the primal simplicity diversified, different names appeared. Are there not enough names now? Is this not the time to stop? To know when to stop is to preserve ourselves from danger. The Tao is to the world what a Greek river or an ocean is to the streams and brooks. He who knows men is clever, he who knows himself has insight, he who conquers men has force, he who conquers himself is truly strong, he who knows when he has got enough is rich, and is nameless. Small. Om has several meanings. It is the sound of all sounds, the sound of the universe, the sound of creation, the beginning of life. Om contains 4 separate parts. Om. Silence. Sit comfortably with your back straight. Inhale. On the exhalation, begin chanting Om. Remember the 4 distinct parts. Pause. Inhale. And exhale. Chant twice more. I am part of life's joyful sound. Benefits: releases tension and dispels negative energy. Promotes a feeling of total peace. Releases powerful spiritual vibrations. Fills the Om has several meanings. It is the sound of all sounds, the sound of the universe. Om has several meanings. It is the sound of all sounds, the sound of the universe, the sound of creation, the beginning of life. Om contains 4 separate parts. A-O-M, silence. Sit comfortably with your back straight. Inhale. On the exhalation, begin chanting Om. Remember the 4 distinct parts. Pause. Inhale and exhale. Chant twice more. I am part of life's joyful sound. Benefits: releases tension, dispels negative energy, promotes a feeling of total peace, releases powerful spiritual vibrations, fills the entire self with luminous energy. Om. Om has several meanings. It is the sound of all sounds, the sound of the universe, the sound of creation, the beginning. The spirits attained oneness and became charged with mystical powers. The fountains attained oneness and became full. The 10,000 creatures attained oneness and became reproductive. Barons and princes attained oneness and became sovereign rulers of the world. All of them are what they are by virtue of oneness. If the sky were not clear, it would be likely to fall to pieces. If the earth were not calm, it would be likely to burst into bits. If the spirits were not charged with mystical powers, they would be likely to cease from being. If the fountains were not full, they would be likely to dry up. If the 10,000 creatures were not reproductive, they would be likely to come to extinction. If the barons and the princes were not the sovereign rulers, they would be likely to stumble and fall. Truly, humility is the root from which greatness springs. The high must be built upon the foundation of the low. That is why barons and princes style themselves the helpless. The spirits attained oneness. Fathomless it seems to be the origin of all things. It blunts all sharp edges. It unties all tangles. It harmonizes all lights. It unites the world into one whole. Hidden in the deeps, yet it seems to exist forever. I do not know whose child it is. It seems to be the common ancestor of all, the father of all things. Heaven and earth is not sentimental. It treats all things as straw dogs. Sage is not sentimental. He treats all his people as straw dogs. Between heaven and earth, there seems to be a bellows. It is empty, and yet it is inexhaustible. The more it works, the more comes out of it. No amount of words can fathom it. Better look for it within you. The spirit of the fountain dies not. All aspects will, of course, remove this disability, and in such a case, the children may be of the Neptunian type. This will make them adorable as children, but it is evident from what has been said with regard to the first house that they will need the greatest care with regard to health and to education. As Leo is the sign naturally pertaining to the fifth house, affairs of the heart are indicated thereby. By this one not only does not mean wedlock, but rather tends to exclude it. The native whose Neptune is in the fifth house will probably be very curious in the matter of love. He will fall in love. There is, of course, also a strong tendency to gamble. We must not blame Neptunians for those peculiarities which seem to our elder judgment to be destroying his soul. Groan shake, but the prophet himself initiated me in my sleep. He gave me an initiation robe unlike any other, not one that ages after 2 days and can be thrown into the furnace of the bathhouse, or that you can clean yourself with after you've gone to the toilet. It is a robe of spiritual conversing, and not the sort of conversation that can be understood with one's mind, but one that is timeless. It transcends yesterday, today, and tomorrow. What can love possibly have to do with today and tomorrow anywhere? A mouse happened to come by the reins of a camel. He grasped the reins in his teeth, proudly began to lead him around. The camel, unbeknown to the mouse, had been disobedient before God, and feeling guilty and downtrodden, allowed the mouse to lead him, thinking this was surely God's will. Meanwhile, the mouse imagined that it was his own might that had overwhelmed the camel, and he ordered him, "Walk on, I shall lead you." The camel soon noticed that they were about to reach a body of water, and he stopped. The mouse exclaimed, "Groan shake, but the prophet himself initiated me in my sleep. He gave me an initiation robe unlike any other, not one that ages after 2 days and can be thrown into the furnace of the bathhouse, or that you can clean yourself with after you've gone to the toilet. It is a robe of spiritual conversing, and not the sort of conversation that can be understood with one's mind, but one that is timeless. It transcends yesterday, today, and tomorrow. What can love possibly have to do with today and tomorrow anywhere? A mouse happened to come by the reins of a camel. He grasped the reins in his teeth, proudly began to lead him around. The camel, unbeknown to the mouse, had been disobedient before God, and feeling guilty and downtrodden, allowed the mouse to lead him, thinking this was surely God's will. Meanwhile, the mouse imagined that it was his own might that had overwhelmed the camel, and he ordered him, "Walk on, I shall lead you." The camel soon noticed that they were about to reach the water, and he stopped. The mouse exclaimed, "Groan shake, but the prophet himself initiated me in my sleep. He gave me an initiation into his world, That's why it's said that reading the Quran will cleanse one's heart. One is accompanied by saints and prophets. One inhabits the state in which they lived. Consequently, their memory will leave an imprint on one's soul, becoming one's constant companion. I was a theologian and diligently studied the canon. I now hardly remember any of it, unless suddenly it reveals itself to me of its own accord, because I no longer have the head to recall. I care about a great many masters, but I will no longer show my affection for them, because a couple of times I did, and they neither understood nor appreciated me. Tolerate them so that the little affection they feel does not wither. With Maulana, however, I did reveal myself, and my love did not suffer, but increased manifold. I cannot always tell the truth with everyone, for if I do, they may turn me away, and if I tell the whole truth, the entire town will chase me out. The world is a bad place for the person who doesn't understand it. Once he discovers that into his the preacher who's never felt pain will arouse only coldness. Are not sweet, sweet words are not sincere. Good men are not argumentative. The argumentative are not good. The wise are not erudite. The erudite are not wise. The sage does not take to hoarding. The more he lives for others, the fuller is his life. The more he gives, the more he abounds. The way of heaven is to benefit, not to harm. The way of the sage is to do his duty, not to strive with anyone.
This is what I thought I was getting on Marketplace, and this is what my husband brought home instead. So, you know when Marketplace...
It doesn't see evil in family life. Be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. 9. Fill your bowl to the brim, and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife, and it will blunt. Chase after money and security, and your heart will never unclench. Care about people's approval, and you will be their prisoner. Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity. 10. Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? Giving birth and nourishing. Having without possessing. Acting with no expectations. Leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue. 11. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. 12. Colors blind the eye. Sounds deafen the ear. Flavors numb the taste. Thoughts weaken the mind. Desires wither the heart. The master observes the world, but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky. 13. Success is as dangerous as failure. Hope is as hollow as fear. What does it mean that success is as dangerous as failure? Whether you go up the ladder or down it, your position is shaky. When you stand with your 2 feet on the ground, you will always keep your balance. What does it mean that hope is as hollow as fear? Hope and fear are both phantoms that arise from thinking of the self. When we don't see the self as self, what do we have to fear? See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. Love the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things. 14. Look, and it can't be seen. Listen, and it can't be heard. Reach, and it can't be grasped. Above, it isn't bright. Below, it isn't dark. Seamless, unnameable, it returns to the realm of nothing. Form that includes all forms. Image without an image. Subtle, beyond all conception. Approach it, and there is no beginning. Follow it, and there is no end. You can't know it, but you can be it, at ease in your own life. Just realize where you come from. This is the essence of wisdom. 15. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. They were careful as someone crossing an iced-over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment. Not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. 16. Empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Returning to the source is serenity. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you. And when death comes, you are ready. 17. When the master governs, the people are hardly aware that he exists. Next best is a leader who is loved. Next, one who is feared. The worst is one who is despised. If you don't trust the people, you make them untrustworthy. The master doesn't talk, he acts. When his work is done, the people say, "Amazing, we did it, all by ourselves." 18. When the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. When there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. When the country falls into chaos, patriotism is born. 19. Throw away holiness and wisdom, and people will be 100 times happier. Throw away morality and justice, and people will do the right thing. Throw away industry and profit, and there won't be any thieves. If these three aren't enough, just stay at the center of the circle and let all things take their course. 20. Stop thinking and end your problems. What difference between yes and no? What difference between success and failure? Must you value what others value? Avoid what others avoid? How ridiculous. Other people are excited, as though they were at a parade. I alone don't care. I alone am expressionless, like an infant before it can smile. Other people have what they need. I alone possess nothing. I alone drift about, like someone without a home. I am like an idiot, my mind is so empty. Other people are bright. I alone am dark. Other people are sharp. I alone am dull. Other people have a purpose. I alone don't know. I drift like a wave on the ocean. I blow as aimless as the wind. I am different from ordinary people. I drink from the great mother's breasts.
Not true. Hold on, half of my screen is broken because I threw my phone up to the wall. Oh no, I like this one.
Why don't you go for Edmund?
She's coming to Chicago this summer. We're going to make love on the boat. We're going to make little half-Jew, Arab Christian babies. Beautiful babies. Look at the baby.
21. The master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. That is what gives her her radiance. The Tao is ungraspable. How can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas. The Tao is dark and unfathomable. How can it make her radiant? Because she lets it. Since before time and space were, the Tao is. It is beyond is and is not. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see. 22. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. The Master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. Because he has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. 23. Express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao, and you can embody it completely. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight, and you can use it completely.